Bil-telefon ngħidu kemm mal-buzz. Min waħda neħbu tnejn. Ma nifhmux dwar x'qed irednu. Nistaqsu kif u x'fatta u fejn.
Mela, tlaqna? Merba għal-episodju ieħor tal-podcast. Illum il-misteden tagħna huwa ċertu Mark Hoban. Mark sar popolari meta kien intas biex ikun kontestant fuq show ta' televizjoni tal-avventura li jismu The Last Man Standing, fej bażikament dawn iduru d-dinja u jagħmlu ħwejjeġ diffiċli ħafna fl-antipodi ta' dinja u għal daqstant biex ta' u maħwejjeġ komplessi ħafna. Mela, ġar? L-antipodi. The antipodes. Antipodi, mela biex nispiegaw li xinu antipodi, dal-dali bettetaw. Antipoda, meta inti tkun il-naħa l-oħra eżatt ta' dinja. Jek inti, per esempio, għanna għedin Malta u namlu ħofra dritt l-isfel, niġu per eżempju Perth l-Australia, jen min naf. Perth l-Australia tiġi l-antipodi ta' Malta. Ftemna? Ftemna fuq għadi? Tajib, nistan kompli. Mela, isma għax taħdida tant kienet interessanti li insejtna mela waqt il-reġistrazzjoni. Il-Mark tajtu dan il-ktib minnat l-agenda li jismu Humankind. Nistar, nkun sinċir li jien għadni ma qrajtux, però Yuval Noah Harari li kitab Sapiens għal Made Me See Humanity from a Fresh Perspective u Stephen Fry li huwa l-eroj tiegħi għal hugely, highly, happily recommended. U għal daqstant għajtu l-Mark ukoll issa ħanaqra jien. Lura taħdida. Mark ġilet ma' Zulus fis South Africa, dan jgħidulu Zulu stick fighting, għamel Kalapalo. Was it wrestling?
Kalapalo, yeah.
Kalapalo wrestling, which is this wrestling that is prevalent in Brazil. Anyway, so yeah, I switched to English because, guys, Mark is Mark is English. So this podcast is going to be in English. I want to talk to Mark about a whole bunch of stuff. And guys, for all those people out there that maybe are thinking, oh, fuck, it's about sport, or it's about fighting, and this. Trust me. Even though, like, the aesthetic is sports, like, we're going to dive into this guy's head and we're going to understand all the workings of a mind under duress. And I'm sure inside these tales of wonder, you're going to find golden nuggets of insight. But before we get to it, I'd like to thank my sponsors and the people that make the show possible. That would be Maypole, Derek Meats, 3 Hour, Stretta Beer. Did you like the beer?
I'm actually really enjoying it.
Fantastic. He's on his second one. No one's counting. Kutriko, Garmin, Agenda eCabs, State of CBD, and Shoulder Compliance. Also, guys, remember, big thanks to my Patreon. Actually, my sister is one of my Patreons today. My sister, it's her fault. All of this, it's her fault. She gave me the first Cypress Hill cassette. And after that, it all went to, this is what happened because of her. Guilty! So, patreon.com/Jon Mallia if you want to be part of the Patreon. And may I remind you that this episode is also being broadcast on Love in Malta. Mr. Hoban, wonderful having you. We already spoke quite a bit on the roof because we're still unpacking from yesterday's little expedition. And so it took a little longer to set up. Hope that wasn't too much of a bother.
I was sat in the sunshine. It's all good.
In the Maltese
and with my beer.
And with your beer. Fantastic.
Yeah. Doesn't get better.
Yeah, I hope you're feeling very welcome. So when I learned about your story, obviously my mind was blown. We had one similar podcast in the first quarter, which was about a guy that loved to go around the world and do like crazy things up and down the Amazon or whatever. But this, I feel, adds another dimension to that, in that you're actually becoming kind of part of these tribes. Actually, if you don't mind, can you just give us a little synopsis of what the show's about, how you wind up in it?
Right, okay. So In fact, I'll start with how I wound up in it, because then that leads on to what the show sort
Actually
of was
is.
about. Yeah, so I was in my first career, and I was a project manager in construction in my first career. And I was 26 years old at the time. And I was very into my fitness. I competed in kickboxing. I had my own salsa classes. I used to teach my own salsa classes. And one of the workers who worked in an office downstairs, he was a member of a sports website, a triathlon team. And he's seen this advert. And this advert was on there saying, do you want to travel the world? Do you want to compete against the most vicious tribes? Do you want to do this? And we were both looking at this advert, and it was like stuff of dreams, right? We were looking at this, and as we were reading it and as we were going into the detail, our jaws dropped, and we were just looking at each other going, imagine if you could just do this. And the guy turned around to me and said, well, why don't you apply? And of course, back then it was before social media, so there was not Instagram. Facebook had literally just been thought of and had just started. So there was none of this social media influence. There was, like, Big Brother was the only reality TV program at the time that had really, had a big backing. And I looked at this advert, and we were like, okay, why not, maybe? So It wasn't until then that a best friend of mine, I told him about it, and he said to me, come on, Mark, we're going to go. He'd never been to salsa with me in my life. And he said, come on, Mark, we're going to go and fill this application form out. And so we went, and there was dancers going around this room, and we were filling out this application form, and it was a lengthy process. It was a thick application form, and they were requesting, and the deadline was the following day, funny enough, and they were asking for self-video footage of why you wanted, the normal thing that you have to do.
Did you have to shoot that, or do you go to a place and...
No, I didn't shoot one because I didn't have time. So that was the weird thing about it. It was like a real half effort, because you don't feel like you're ever going to get chosen to do something like that. There was half effort. So I'd sent a few pictures with the application, one of when I was drunk in Malta, funny enough, and one when I was competing in kickboxing, one when I was dancing, just to give a full array, like a vision of what I would be like without the video. And I didn't think anything of it, because I'd not sent this video in. I'd not done the things that they'd asked. But then I got a phone, while I was at work, I got a phone call, and they said, we need you to come down to the Aldershot training barracks to do 2 days of fitness training, to do lots of testing, to see if I would be good enough to go on this TV series. And that was it then. My mind was just blown. It was like, wow. And I needed some days off work, and I hadn't got any days left off work, and I had to go and tell my boss at the time, and he was like, take it, you can have the time. And that was it then. And I never thought anything of it. I turned up on this training day, and we had to check into this hotel. And of course, me being me, I'm very relaxed. I'm always myself. So the first thing I do is order a pint of beer at the bar.
The fitness gathering.
Right, at this fitness gathering. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm really into my fitness. I was a very fit lad at the time. But I was all like, just the balance. I always had that balance. And I was drinking this beer, and I'm looking around, and there's all these athletes, like athletes beyond my level of athlete. There was a British runner, there was British rower, there was professional rugby union players, and there was all these top level athletes that were applying for this thing. So I'm just feeling really out my comfort zone, and I'm just saying hello to everyone. And then the testing started, and before I knew it, I finished the weekend, and I just went, that's it. And I said goodbye to everybody. Everybody had stayed, and you could see all these...
How do you feel you did in the fitness, like, comparatively?
Well, I did everything that all the athletes done, which actually for me was probably the main thing, because I was around professional athletes, and yet I gave every single one of them a run for their money in the fitness challenges. There was lots of army training in there.
Did you realize you were that fit?
No, I think everybody has an element. If you're not a professional athlete, I think if you're a professional athlete, if you have self-doubt, you're never going to be a successful athlete, are you?
Yeah.
You've got to believe that you're the best. You've got to believe you can win. I wasn't a professional athlete.
Right.
So I didn't really think I was anything at the time. I was just giving something a go. I mean, like, I knew going on the program, I'd be good in terms of fitness. But when you're put up against professional athletes, it's like, oh, I didn't expect professional athletes to be applying for this program.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So there is that self-doubt.
So, yeah, but along with that self-doubt, there must be a lot of pride, no? I mean, managing to keep up with people whose lives it is to be athletic.
Yeah, I think there was an understanding from my part. Like, I always make a reason or an excuse, or I always explain it. And so for me, it was like, I'm not a specific runner. I'm not a specific rower.
Yeah.
So the challenges we were given weren't specific running, weren't. So actually, as an all-round athlete,
right.
for me, I was sort of telling myself, yeah, you know, like, actually, I've given these guys a good go.
That's amazing. It's really cool. Anyway.
Yeah, so I left and I said goodbye to everyone.
And you thought
I thought that was it.
Okay.
Like, I thought I've had a brilliant couple of days, and then it went quiet, and I went back and I heard nothing, and it wasn't until and then I got an email to say we're still in the process, blah blah blah, and I'd had a holiday to Mexico booked to go with friends and family. And it was amazing because, like I said, I sent them an email. I said, look, I'm going on a holiday of a lifetime to Mexico. I said, I don't really want to know whether I've got in or whether I haven't while I'm there. I said, because if I haven't got in, I don't want it to ruin my holiday, and I would just rather not know. And then went to Mexico, so I didn't hear anything. I didn't even have a reply. So I'd gone to Mexico then, and halfway through the holiday, we were in Cancun, living the best life, as you'd imagine that you do in Cancun. And I had a missed call, and it was from London. It was a London number with a voicemail. And of course, we're 5 hours behind there, aren't we? And I listened to this voicemail, and I said to my friend, because we'd gone for our siesta, we'd had our morning by the sea and the beach, and I've gone back, and I've got a missed call. It's a voicemail. So I went out onto the balcony. I still remember it. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I remember going on the balcony, and I'm listening to this voicemail. And he says, it's the producer. And he says, hello, Mark. I'd like to just say congratulations. We'd love to have you on this program. And I'm stuck out. He said, we need you to get back here, and we need you to get all of your injections, passport. Yeah, I had to apply for a second passport.
Oh, wow.
And all of a sudden, like, I was out of breath. My friend ran out the door, like, just ran straight out the door. I'm like, where's he gone? Because he's seen me doing this through the window of the balcony, and so he's ran. And I've gone down into the hotel, and there was about 20 of us on holiday altogether, like families, and I went down, and we were in a hotel full of Americans, and of course this was Discovery Channel. It was a co-production of Discovery Channel and BBC BBC World. So it was funded. It was like an $8 million series. So it was a very, very big series.
Wow.
That was. So of course, in Cancun, it's all Americans, isn't it? So I'd gone downstairs, and they'd already bought 2 bottles of champagne before I'd even got downstairs. And I'd got down by the pool, and everybody's way, and obviously all these Americans then were like, oh, what's going on here? And so of course then they find out you're going to be on Discovery Channel. That's it, like immediate fame came round by the hotel. It was absolutely crazy. They were like, oh my God, you're going to be on Discovery Channel. We want a picture. And so that was it then. For the whole rest of the holiday, this word had got round this small hotel. It was like unbelievable. They announced it in the hotel.
That must have been weird for you though, no? Because you spent most of your life not being so much in the public eye.
I've never been in the public eye.
And then all of a sudden people want, now, like 1 second, no one gives a shit. The next second, people want pictures with you. That's fucking insane.
I'll tell you what, John, you know something, and I have to say, when we look back, it was never about it being on TV that was the appeal. Because like I said, there was no social media, there wasn't any of this popularity. What the big draw in was the opportunity to go, because I was very outgoing and I was very adventurous.
I really wanted to get into this actually. What were the incentives for you to go? Was it more to discover, here's the question, was it to discover what's within or what's without?
I would say it wasn't right. There was small elements of within. For me, the big light bulb was when I was sat down with that guy from work, and it was like, you could be doing this, right? You
Amazing.
could be. And what they were.
Sounds like the perfect advert for this fucking show, man.
All right. We'll do your next advert. But like there was a part of me then that knew, like, I was the fussiest eater in the world. Like, I wouldn't eat anything. Like anything other than like cheese and tomato pizza, and like my mum would sit here and my mum would be swearing to you saying that I was an absolute nightmare. My friends would say I'm an absolute nightmare, and for me it was like panic. As soon as I got in, I literally went into panic because I was going to go on this amazing adventure, and then it just realised and dawned on me that I had to start eating stuff that I wouldn't normally eat. I had to start doing all of these things right, really out the comfort zone, and like a bit of panic had set in. So I don't think it was like more of it was a definite, like, this is an amazing experience to go on. It was only when that experience started to happen that I realised the effect that it has internally.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a cliche in a sense that changed your life. You go and it would go, oh, it was life changing, blah blah blah. It was life changing, but in the ways that you wouldn't think it would be. So you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about how you deal with things, and I'm sure we'll go into a lot of experiences later on about how I deal with pressure, how I deal with stress, how I deal with being alone, how I deal with not speaking a language, how I deal with not having toilets, how you deal with all of these
I read
Western things.
That story of the part of the story where you're talking about the canoe in the Pacific.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, that sounded so. That was terrible. Like, I'm reading it and every word, I'm like, this can't get, oh yeah, oh shit, okay. It's fucking heavy moments.
There was a lot, I tell you. I mean, I entertain my friends no end because I animate and I really tell stories.
I can see that.
But what I never do is lie, and they always know that when I'm telling something, that's exactly how it was.
What happened on the day.
Yeah, but the stories that we'll go into some. They're absolutely mind-blowing. Some of the experiences you think, what on earth? Who has the opportunity to do this? It's like stuff that you watch on Discovery Channel.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing, you think like I've done it, and I think it's something that would only happen on Discovery Channel or on National Geographic, and then I realise actually it was on Discovery. So it's like that really weird thing.
That's crazy. So okay, let's go into that mental journey. So you realize you're going to have to start doing these sacrifices now and eating what you don't usually want to eat. But can you walk us through like the mental process, like what's going on in the head? Like, I'm interested in the voice in the head that's telling you, fuck no, don't do it. Like, this is crazy. Are you nuts? Or did that guy exist at all in your head?
There was never a guy. I don't think there was ever a guy that said don't do it. There was always doubt, and the doubt to me was always like, because it was unknown. It was like, well, what happens if I hurt myself? What happens if I can't eat anything? What happens if, that there was that was always there, but I don't think I'd ever not. I would always do something. If I say I'm going to do something, I'll do it. Yeah. But then you think like, well, what if I don't get on with the people I'm going with? What, I've got to go away for 13 months, traveling, because it was filmed over a long period of time. What am I going to do with work? Yeah. What am I going to do when I get back? Am I going to have a job when I get home? How am I going to pay for that? There was lots of things to think about.
How many of those doubts were actual doubts that you needed to concern yourself with, and how many of those doubts were just your body trying to convince you to stay sane?
I don't think there was, right. I think the fact that I went and the fact that those doubts were just challenged head on, they were obviously not doubts that were going to control me.
Right.
They were just the normal doubts that you have, right? And some people will, when they have those doubts, will be scared to go into the unknown, and some people go into the unknown. And that's the difference between certain people. It's that fight or,
or flight.
It's fight or flight. Yeah. And that was one of the really big lessons I learned about myself as to which one I was.
Right.
Right, because you actually hit a good point in that question. I always thought I was a flight. I always thought, growing up as a child, I always thought, although, yeah, I competed in kickboxing and those things, but actually in the real world, they're controlled environments, right? When you're competing at kickboxing and in the karate competitions, and they're always controlled environments.
Right.
So there wasn't really a flight to be had, There was no, well, I'm not going to get killed here, right? Like, they're controlled environments.
Yeah, but most people don't like to get kicked in the head either.
Well, no, you don't. But this was another level. Like what I was going to do was another level, right? And so I still always felt like I was a runner. I was a fighter. I'd actually learned that I was probably more of like I was the fighter, like more than I ever could have imagined. And like in all parts of my life, not just that series, but even afterwards, the emotional, the journey that I've had since then.
So are you saying that you developed a relationship with the fighter throughout this experience?
Yeah.
That's where you started realizing.
Yeah, that's when I started realizing how tough I actually was. Like, and we're not talking about fist punching tough. We're talking about how tough you are inside.
Yeah. Like we're talking mental strength.
Yeah,
we're talking
physical strength too. Like we pushed our bodies to the limit, right? We did. And
none of those environments seemed like the terrain was ideal for doing whatever the fuck you guys were doing.
No,
at any point.
No, you weren't.
Was there any fucking like ring? No, it's
no, and that was a thing. Like what I think people don't realize, they feel like things are fixed, that you leave the area and you're in a hotel for an evening, right? Yeah. No, you weren't. We were given, in each place we went, we were given a family that would look after us, right? We would stay in the family. The television crew would stay not even in the same village.
Right.
Right? They'd be away. So we were at times on our own, exposed and ridiculously vulnerable.
Wow.
Like more than you could. I don't think you'd probably get away with some of the stuff now. What I did have was a real good feeling that because it was BBC and Discovery Channel, there was a responsibility to them. Yeah. They are responsible at the time. I mean, people might go, there's arguments for and what the BBC do or what Discovery. But at the time, out of all of the TV channels, if you were going to do something like that, you knew that they were going to do it right. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Discovery was, for us, quite a staple source of information. Like, it was quite a revered, and BBC as well. No. Even in Malta, we grew up believing these two establishments were something extremely, like, it felt very reliable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And even to us. And that's, you're going back to 2006, so even more so back then. It's changed a lot since, but even more so.
So, walk us through the process. So the adventure, like, I don't know, we can start from the first one was...
I'll start you from, right, so I'll explain and then I'll start you off. So we had to we had 2 passports. And everyone goes, how'd you get 2 passports? We got 2 passports. BBC get everything they want. Jeez. Right? Wow. So we were able to have 2 passports and one...
James Bond shit.
Yeah, it was proper James Bond stuff, right? And you joke about it now, but we were able to have 2. And you would travel on one, and while you were travelling on one, they would get visas on the other.
Jesus Christ.
They would then bring out your passport to wherever you were, swap your passports, and then you've got your visa ready to go to the next destination. And then they will take the old one and get the visas for the next place. If the visas didn't come in time, we'd then have to fly back to the UK for a couple of days, and then you'd be out again. But what we never knew for the first one was our destination.
Right.
We knew we had to go and get the vaccines and this one, and we all talk about. Everyone complains about the COVID vaccine. I don't want to get political about that, but you couldn't enter some countries without certain vaccines back then. Yeah. Let alone a COVID, so you still couldn't travel to those. So we had to get those.
And then, it would be very dangerous, no, to go to those countries without the vaccines.
Right? Of course. So when I met, so we then got to the Heathrow Airport. It was always Heathrow Airport that we travelled out from in the UK. And I went there and I met the boys for the first time that I was travelling with. So because it was a co-produced series between Discovery and BBC, they had to have 3 Americans competitors for the American audience.
Sure.
And then obviously the 3 British for the British audience to make it viable. Yeah. And I met them there. We all met each other for the first time. And like I said, we never knew where we were going until we got to the airport itself with our stuff, one bag of stuff. And then we got our passport. And the first thing, I opened it up and it was Mongolia. It was the Mongolia. And it was an amazing, I wish I had I should have brought the there was an amazing visa, you know, the stickers, the stickers that they put in for visas, right? And it was an incredible, and I looked in and I was like, I'm going to Mongolia. Like, I'm looking at this going, how many people? We used to joke about going out to Mongolia, Christ. Right? And then panic then set in again. It was like, God, what do they eat in Mongolia? Like, it was all of those things. And
so that was your first worry?
Yeah, it was actually. What am I going to eat?
It didn't cross your mind like, I wonder what the fuck they're going to make me do in Mongolia?
Well, that comes later, right? But okay. my genuine first thing was, what do they eat in Mongolia? Because I was so fussy with food. Like, I was like really bad. And then obviously we're trying to guess what they do in Mongolia. So we were all thinking it was going to be like horse riding, something to do with horses in outer Mongolia. So we fly, we get on the plane, and lucky for us, like, what was amazing was that some locations were that far out there. You had to visit many other countries just to get there, or you had to do many things to get there. And for our first experience, it was like it was the best eye-opener ever, because we travelled we went from Frankfurt to Moscow. We then went from Moscow to Ulaanbaatar, which is the capital of Mongolia. We stayed in Ulaanbaatar for 3 or 4 days. What a crazy place that was. I mean, like, you're in Mongolia and you're in the capital of Mongolia, and we're 6 lads, and we're not small lads. Like, there was Jason, he was a professional BMX racer. He was 6'4". Oh, wow. Brad was a professional strongman.
The strongman
He
guy,
was 6'1", like 100 and something kilos. Like, I was one of the smaller ones. Richard was the smallest. Then it was me. And then the rest were all... So you can imagine how big these lads are. And we had no fear. Like, we were just wandering around Ulaanbaatar. Like, some of the places we were going around, like, they weren't safe for people. But when you're oblivious and you're not really accustomed to travelling to remote places. But it was incredible.
Not safe how? What did you feel wasn't safe about them?
Ulaanbaatar, you don't feel safe when you're not in the everyday sort of living. Like, so what I would say to when you go out at night and you go out and you're probably in a bar and you're having a few drinks, that's when you're in nearly every country. Like, that's when you're at your most vulnerable. When you learn when you're at your most vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right. And those are the times you're at your most vulnerable, when the places are quiet, the places are darker. You know, people are watching you. They're watching how you behave, and you have to be very aware of that. You have to always looking out for your mates. Yeah. You lose your mates. I remember I lost the group on the one evening, and I'm wandering around like the not just the affluent area, but we're wandering around. We lost each other around the shanty towns of Ulaanbaatar, and you feel vulnerable at those times. But at the same time, nothing happened to us. So, like, either we were really lucky, or actually a lot of it's in your mind, and a lot of it is made up, and you play these stories.
But what do people generally think about this place? Do they generally?
It's got mixed. Like, it's only when that's the thing. We weren't able to ever research where we were going, because we never knew we never knew where we were going.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you some more stories later on, because when you're then out in the country, you then have to learn what insects to avoid, what snakes to avoid, what to do when this happens. I've got some brilliant stories to tell you about this.
Was one of these stories in Mongolia?
No, but Mongolia was out there, because we then flew from Ulaanbaatar and we went over towards the border of China.
So had to fly again?
Yeah, we had to fly again. And that
was Mongolia like huge?
Huge.
Okay.
Huge. It's bigger than you think, right?
Definitely. I didn't realize.
Right, neither did we. Like, I didn't know anything about it. So then we flew from there to a small little holding town called Hoft, and they didn't like us in Hoft, right? The Mongolians, they're big masculine men, and then we learned that actually wrestling was the
thing you're gonna do.
The thing we were gonna do, because it's the national sport.
Why
right?
didn't they like you in Hoft? So Hoft
was
like
Westerners, yeah. We were out there,
and it was just like a place where you're stopping for a while,
it was, right.
And then you were going to go somewhere else.
And then we were going to go somewhere else.
So you weren't there to compete with these guys. You're there to compete, kind of in the I don't know, in the sexual food chain.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's what they were thinking.
We're the 6 Western blokes, big blokes, and they especially Brad. Funny enough, so Brad was a celebrity everywhere. He went the strongman,
right?
Because he was like
massive.
When you go to indigenous tribes, masculinity is the highest. It is very animal kingdom.
Yes.
You know, the biggest animal, the biggest bloke, the strongest bloke, that they hold the highest. And so they're obviously seeing Brad and they're seeing his big muscles, and they're coming up and they're all coming and having a look and they're staring and they're all staring at you, and all they're doing is weighing you up. All they're doing is weighing you up. And then we survived that. We ended up in a small bar there, and they didn't like us in this small bar. So we had a couple of drinks and we left, because you know when you're not welcome. But where that was, so you were on the verge of the Gobi Desert there as well. And so when you were flying into that, just the landscape, I'd never experienced it before. Wow. It was just out of this world. Then we had to get camels. So I'd ridden a horse once or twice, but we had to ride then camels for 12 hours to go to the nomadic people that were living.
You rode camels for 12 hours?
12 hours, yeah.
Straight.
So we camped. We had a campsite halfway, and then we got these camels. I mean, I think a part of it was for TV as well, right? So,
I'm sure, man. Yeah. I'm sure this is part of the challenge.
Of course it is, you're right.
12 hours on a camel is strenuous.
And you know, I'll tell you one thing. Me and that camel, by the end, we were like partners in crime. We absolutely loved. They stank. I don't know whether if you ever rode a camel, but they have really bad. It's bad. I didn't know whether it was mine, and it was definitely the camels, right? And we were like this, and these camels ran. I'll tell you what, I thought horses ran. Woof! One would go, and then that was it. It would set all the other stuff, because we didn't have a clue what we were doing. You just see us all like bouncing for miles while they try and stop these camels coming after us. It was like mind blowing within the first like 5 days, because then you've got jet lag. Did
it start feeling unsafe at this point?
No. It was exciting at this point, wasn't it? It was exciting. You hadn't really experienced.
'Cause wasn't this was the first time you were riding a camel?
First time I was riding a camel, first time in Mongolia,
and this camel is like racing through the desert.
Yeah.
With you
on it
as the cargo.
Yeah, but I think if you like, you could be scared, but like a part of it's fun. I don't know.
But it just sounds, I'm sure it was fun, but it also feels like the person that put me on this is fucking irresponsible.
Oi, if I had a pound for every time that happened, if I had a pound for every time that, right, I would have come home after the first 10 minutes.
Fantastic,
right?
mate. So, all right, please do carry on.
Yeah, so and then we ended up in a little nomadic in the mountains, the desert mountains, with the greenest, freshest air you'll ever experience. The ice has just melted. We'd just got there just after the ice and the winter had passed. And it was just the most purest place. Just goats, sheep. And all we had was 3 huts spread out in this valley with the river going through. That was home. Wow. That was home. To learn the art of Mongolian wrestling. And that was it. So the food wasn't great. I'm not going to lie to you. I ate goat's testicles. Literally straight after we'd pulled them out of the goats. Sorry.
The goat was dead?
No, the goat's alive. So what they do, so these are the things that you're just literally thrown into, right? So they do it. I think what I understood was that they did it to stop to do gene pools of animals, to stop them. I don't know.
Intermingling and
I think it's to stop the intermingling. Or they were just hungry and they just wanted goat's testicles for dinner. But one of the craziest things was we learned a very big lesson, because some countries we went to, they did understand a bit of English. There was English speaking that happened in some of the countries just purely through British colonialism and things like that. So Mongolia was one of those ones where they really didn't. So the first thing we figured out to do was to literally write your own dictionary. So I was you're in the house with your host. We were all in different places, but because there was only 3 huts, there was 2 of us per house. So that was good, because it let us in a little bit gently. Rather than us being on our own, we at least had someone that
Some
we
support.
some support in there, and I think they deliberately did that. But what we figured out very quickly was to write our own dictionaries. Like, there are no toilets, so where do I go to the toilet? I'm hungry, I need to eat. Like, because you weren't they were cooking for you, they were doing everything for you. So it was this, we learned very quickly that was the first thing we needed to do wherever we went. It was to write our own
And how did you
dictionary.
figure out what the words actually meant in the
Just
first place?
purely through actions and spending, like, after dark when you're all in the hut together and there's no way they can avoid you. Like,
So you're playing charades all
you're
night.
pretty much playing charades all night, and then you're going and then you're writing that down, and then you're getting them to say it again, and then you're writing how they say it.
Mark has a friend that I believe she's Russian, and she doesn't speak English very well. So Mark communicates with her in emojis.
Well, there you go. It's modern day, eh?
Yeah,
modern day.
hieroglyphics.
There we go.
Spectacular and numbers.
The courgette one. Do you use the courgette emoji? No.
The courgette. No, it's not that kind of Russian friend. No,
okay.
No. One track mind. These athletes. Fucking athletes. Oh, man, this is fantastic. So, we're in Mongolia. You're in the huts. You've just had some goat's testicles.
Yeah, then we get to the business.
How confident were you in your wrestling skills?
No, I didn't have any wrestling skills. Like, there
Very
was no
confident then. You're good to go.
Good to go. Like, it was literally like, it was. I tell you, what was crazy about Mongolian wrestling was you were practicing in the most incredible surroundings.
Right.
Like, you're in the middle of nowhere. Like, we're doing our training and we're lifting stones for training, and there's no, like, mats on the floor.
Yeah.
It is like,
Yeah.
and it was a vicious sport. But ironically, the outfits that they had to wear are not the most vicious looking outfits. In fact, they're quite the opposite. I had some pink pants, some pink tight pants, and they have an open fronted tight top on.
Did you get to keep the
I have. I've
the
got
gear?
it. I've got it all at home.
Okay. For a second, I thought you were going to say, I've got it all under here. And
You know,
just
I've
got
been
the
asked to put it on
amazing TV.
before. I've been asked to put it on before. In fact, actually, we had to wear it for. There was a really big English TV program called the Paul O'Grady Show.
Right.
And Paul O'Grady was a very famous presenter, prime time. We had to wear it on his program. Like, he made us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, made us wear it on his program.
And what's it like to fight in something that looks uncomfortable?
Well, the thing is, when you're fighting, aren't you? And actually, what you learn is I'm a real technical. I love to understand the technical aspects of fighting, or the technical aspects of everything. And what you learn very quickly is the outfits are actually there for a reason. You can use the outfits to your advantage or disadvantage
okay.
when you're fighting. It's like, for example, you wear a gi
Right.
in jiu-jitsu, for example, and you can use that gi to your advantage, whereas in MMA you have no gi. Although you're doing jiu-jitsu, you don't have that gi to
Right,
use. Same as
right.
judo. Judo is another example of that. Very similar. Like, with this wrestling, you have that outfit that you actually use in the technical aspect of the sport. So it then doesn't become a feminine outfit anymore when
Right.
someone's trying to...
When it's a weapon, it's literally a weapon.
Yeah. When someone's trying to kill you with it, like, it's a very different experience. And like I said, in Mongolia, pretty much every place we went to, they didn't like you and they wanted to literally kill you and take your head off, with the exception to one country, and that was Senegal. They just knew they could kill you. So actually they were there to help you. We'll come on to that one later.
Right. So every other country that you went to, people were really wanting to show you Westerners.
Yeah, 100%.
What the fuck's up in Mongolia?
100%. South Africa was a prime example of that one. That was one of the scariest experiences. That was one of my biggest fight or flight lessons.
Moments.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's delve deeper into Mongolia. This contention that there was between your hosts and yourselves, was that like immediate, or is it like once the sport starts?
No, so the hosts were actually, it was in their interest for us to do well. So what we were actually doing, we were representing how good the hosts were at training us.
Right. So it would be like probably like rival clubs.
Right. So I'll tell you the first experience of the first competition. So a van pulled up and they dragged me. I can't. Who remember? Was with me? I can't remember which athlete it was with me, but they literally picked us up and they took us away. And it was Corey. They took us away and they drove us up into the mountains. And like we're like, where are we going? Like what we're doing? Like we thought it'd be quite exciting. We thought we were going to be taken away. You know what TV do?
Yes.
I know you got licorice at the moment, haven't you?
Yes.
And they take a couple away.
In fact, the other adventure guy that was here before you is the producer of licorice.
Well, my cousin's actually on licorice at
right
the moment.
Now?
Yeah, Victor, vote for Victor, right?
Yeah, in that camera over there.
Vote for Victor. He's on it at the moment, funny enough. But it's like that TV thing where they take you away to show a different experience, the anthropology. Yeah. So we thought we were going to go and do something exciting in Outer Mongolia, you know, like go and ride horses or go and enjoy the fields or do something. No, we got taken to an illegal fight where it was all illegal gambling and the fights.
With the camera crew following?
Yeah, the camera crew were with us because they'd obviously like arranged for us.
This sounds very irresponsible. Very irresponsible.
You know what? Actually, no one was horrible. There were some countries that we went to where we were in bad predicaments, right? There were. And it was like, we did have evacuation procedures and things like that. This wasn't one of those places. Okay. But you're
going to an illegal fight with cameras.
Yeah, well, when I say illegal, what I mean, like, it's
unlicensed?
It's unlicensed, okay. Yeah. It's not like an organised, they call it a nadam. Okay, the fights, but it wasn't like one of the big nadams. It was like just a back street nadam, but without the streets. It was just up in the mountains. Gee, so we turn up, and there's all these fights going on, and all these locals. And then the next thing, my host turns around and says, "Yeah, I've just entered you into a fight," and he's done this through just to test our skills, and of course I'm the one that he's entered into this fight, and so I'm looking around, I'm like. Can I swear?
Yeah, like, entirely right.
You're taking the piss. Like you're going to send me into this, and funny enough, like I went in. I had the fight and I won the fight. Like, oh wow! God knows how I won this fight, right? And I won money. I literally became a professional Mongolian wrestler
in one match.
I'd won this, but it was crazy, and it wasn't fixed. Like it was a proper brawl. With this guy.
So the guy that's entering you into the competitions.
He was my host. He was the one that I was living with, the one that was training me.
He's like a coach. So he did it entirely just to size you up. Just to see how good can this guy actually fight.
It was. It was. Wow. It was exactly
about
that.
Throwing someone in the deep end. Like that.
I was thrown proper into the deep end. Yeah.
So what were you thinking at that point? Like how does this
was a game of fight or flight moment, right?
Yeah. So how does the actual fight work in Mongolian wrestling? So what was the aim? Is it like to get the opponent on the back?
Yeah, basically that. Yeah, you're getting the opponent onto the floor. Okay. So there's no wrestling when you're on the floor. Once your opponent, it's funny because a lot of the wrestling that we did. So I learned wrestling in Senegal, wrestling Kalapalo wrestling in Brazil. There was Mongolian wrestling. Were there any? No, those were the three wrestlings. None of them was actually like proper wrestling on the floor. It was literally just to get your opponent down. I think it's very much like the animal kingdom. You know, when like two elephants go at it, once the one backs down or once one goes down, they walk away and they've admitted defeat. There's no, we're going to carry on stupid humans do when they do that thing, right? Yeah. It was very much like that. It was just like, no, I've got the better of you. That's it. We're done. And then you win or lose. So it was literally throw your opponent to the floor. But like I said, there's no mats. Like you were like we were cut and bruised and all sorts from just constant hitting rocks and
wow.
But it was a crazy experience that because obviously everyone's eyes are on you and there's a lot of pressure on you and like you could turn around. We were in positions where a lot of the athletes didn't acknowledge the battle, especially in South Africa. They just didn't want to know, right? And Mongolia wasn't. I mean, it's scary. It was scary because you're representing yourself, and
of course. And there is the world. The world is watching. You're representing
everyone's
yourself.
Watching, yeah.
And at the same time, you're about to participate in a sport you know virtually very little about.
Very little about. And you're around
and
the locals.
And the locals, it obviously means a fuckload for these
Way
people.
loads.
And you're about to go in there and
Yeah.
say, I'm going to piss on your parade. This is going to be complicated.
We're in your back door, right? We're in your garden. We're
Yeah.
it
It must have been very intimidating.
I'll tell you what though, but when I won.
Il-ħobża tal-Malti, il-ħobża tal-Maltin, minant il-Maypole.
That sort of intimidation and that, like, they were amazing. They were like, I think they were shocked more than anything. So the moment I won, it was just like, I mean, the picture, I've got brilliant pictures of the moment actually where I win, and there's the luckily for us, this experience that I had was documented.
Right.
It was documented through professional photographers that were with us. It's been documented on TV,
right.
and you feel very privileged to have had everything documented. Apart from the most craziest experiences, they're the ones that aren't documented.
Oh wow!
Because
So
they're
we're
the crazy ones
today
for a reason.
because we're going to get a bunch of exclusive.
You are going to get.
stories.
You're going to get some brilliant exclusive
Yes,
stories.
this is mad.
that aren't on the series. Yeah,
Fantastic.
they're just not documented.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's keep going. What was next? Like,
So it's funny because Mongolia wasn't, in terms of the series itself, Mongolia wasn't the first episode to be played in the series.
right.
It was the first one to be filmed. So what they do, they film one and then they realise which one's going to be the best, and then they put the best one first. So that's how TV works.
So
they
they
always
hook you
put
in.
so they hook you in. They always put the best one first. So Mongolia, we had an amazing experience. Our barebacked horse rode there. We learned like proper archery. It was crazy. The main Nadam was just crazy. Like to be in that environment where people were coming from all over the region.
how big is this Nadam thing?
Oh, I mean, on the scale of it, I mean, there was a good 500 people there. You're talking of probably 100 wrestlers. Like when you're in the middle of nowhere, like for them people to turn up from everywhere, it was like quite a big thing, you know. I think the best way I can describe it
Looks
is
like it sounds like a fantasy movie. Almost.
right. I was just about to say, you know, like the old and medieval sort of competitions.
Yeah, exactly.
This one was very much with the tents pitched in the middle of nowhere. It was exactly like a fantasy stroke. It was unbelievable. It was really good.
Incredible. And so you get to this. It's called a Madan.
A Nadam.
Nadam.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you get to this Nadam. Now you're feeling confident because you won your first fight.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you feel confident, yeah, and then you appear at a Nadam where you've got the best fighters from all over the region turning up because there's a lot of money at stake for these fighters, and there's a lot of pride. And I'm not going to lie to you, I got my ass whooped. Like literally got my ass whooped. Like I was knocked out in the first round, got absolutely whooped. He was so good. In fact, he beat two of the other lads that was in ours. He was just really good.
He just went through all of the people on your show.
Two others, yeah.
Okay. And how did the others do? Like what about the big guy, the strong man? Did he do well?
He did do well, but of course, like it's very difficult to move in those instances. Yeah. Like he's just really strong. So the wrestling ones suited him down to the ground. Like really, I mean, I know they talk about but we're all in the same boat. We're all on the same level. So when you're technically at the same level, size wins.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Size wins, especially in something like wrestling.
Yeah.
So he didn't win. He didn't win the whole thing. Someone just fell over with a bucket of water over there.
It was the weirdest sound. It was
like a tin bucket. Those old school tin buckets.
Those tin thermos crap. It was like a neutered gong, like a gong, but with no testicles. Like if it had testicles. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this. So let's.
So he did very well, but he didn't win the whole thing. He got beaten eventually by a big fighter that was technically better. Yeah.
And how does the point system work on the show? Like the fact that
Right.
he got further ahead.
No. So it would work that he got for the furthest ahead, or that he won the thing, so he wins that program,
Okay.
and then we go on to the next.
And it's the case of just that one person getting a point and everyone else getting
Yeah,
nothing.
exactly that.
Okay.
Exactly. You either win or you don't.
Okay.
Right? You either win it or you don't. So
Cruel, huh? Cruel.
Huh?
Cruel.
Well, it would have been more cruel is if you didn't win it, you go home and they bring in another 5 contestants to go to the next one. I think that
Yes.
would have been more cruel. What was
would be
amazing was that
evil.
we because there was, like, I would say if there was a program to get on, to be able to go on, this was the one, right? It really was the one. Like, I look at TV programs now where they do this type of thing. Like, we had the anthropology, we had literally everything in there, and I think that's what made the program so successful and so unique, was the fact that I think they were hoping for 6 blokes to be really uber competitive, hate each other, and do this, when actually what they found was that because we were all in this strange environment, and we ended up, what actually we did, we
got closer.
gelled.
Yeah.
We gelled. And so they then rewrote the whole program.
Wow.
And they took it from a different angle. 6 athletes, brothers, going through an adventure together, rather than it be competing and
That's strange
hating
though,
each other.
because it could have gone the completely other way.
I think that's what they would have wanted to, because at the time,
That would make a lot of drama and people
Right.
fighting and cussing each other out.
right, and there was elements of that. Of course, there was. Like, none of us wanted to lose, but actually, we all had each other's backs because we were all in this environment. Because I remember the Big Brother was on at the time, and with Big Brother, drama was the thing
Yeah.
that made Big Brother popular. Everyone cursing each other, everyone hating at each other, all of this backstabbing. And I think that's what they were probably going for that. But actually, the complete opposite happened.
Yeah.
But what it turned out was that that's what people loved about the show,
Yeah.
was that there wasn't that element of the Big Brother going on. It was actually, these lads have just clubbed together and just are having a great time.
They've bonded
Just
like a family.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
more of like a family coming
Yeah,
together.
and we
than a-
still speak now, and like we still.
Oh, you remain friends?
Yeah, remain friends. I've been to America to see them. Like the Americans, yeah, still friends.
Fantastic,
Yeah.
man. Fantastic. Obviously, there's a lot of tension and drama from all the stuff that you're going to be doing anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm
No,
sure
no,
there's
there
a
were
lot of
times.
tension there.
There were times that we hated each other. Like, I'm not going to lie, there were times that you
But
hated
I'm saying
each
not
other.
just from the other contestants, but also just like turning up in South Africa with a bunch of Zulu stick fighters
and I
wanting
mean,
to kick your ass.
That was a scary
That's
one.
tense.
That was a scary one.
That's tense. You don't need any more drama between the group.
No,
Yeah.
and that was a really scary one, that one.
Fantastic. Fantastic. It's going to be great stories for sure. Would you like anything? You
I've
need
still got
coffee?
I've still got my Strata beer. It's really nice.
Fantastic. All right. You want to go to the next part of this wondrous journey?
Yeah, like it's going to take us all night. So what I'll try and do is get through them a little bit quicker. So what was brilliant?
Are
about,
you in a rush?
No, but what was it? It's my last night in Malta.
No,
though.
no,
So like I've got a plane to catch at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. But
8
we'll
o'clock
be all
tomorrow.
right.
We can do 8.
Yeah, we can do it.
We'll
We'll get
send
through.
Mark
We'll
the
do an
pack.
all-nighter, right? So what was great about the TV program was like, so Mongolia. To get
Right.
from Mongolia, the next destination we were going to was the Trobrian Islands. And the Trobrian Islands are the group of South Pacific islands off the, this is a really good one, this is an intense one, off the coast of Papua New Guinea.
Right.
Right, nobody's ever been to Papua New Guinea, right? So it's like, it's crazy. We were going to a group of islands that hadn't seen Westerners for like since probably the pilgrims, the Catholics had
Jesus
been there,
Christ.
the Christians had been to try and convert everyone. And what was great was that we were going from
Is this close to New Zealand or?
no. This is north of Australia, Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea's that big island.
That
So
looks a bit like a turtle.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
That one, yeah. And so the Trobrian Islands are, you see where the Solomon Sea is?
Yeah, guys, can we take a note so we put this up if it's possible?
Sorry, listeners. No, but yeah, where the Solomon Sea is, Trobrian Islands are a group of islands just hidden in there. Like just closer to the mainland of...
So should you
Close
go to the left
yeah,
or should
group
we?
there. They're
Okay,
a group
left,
of
left.
islands in
تعرف
there.
إيه like?
Yeah, they're a group of islands. There they are.
Those?
Yeah, up just a bit higher.
الفوق.
They're those, yeah.
Okay,
They're the
all
Trobrian Islands. You can screenshot that. So...
It looks like a cartoon of someone really lazy.
It's true.
Looks like a total bum.
So to get to there was an amazing experience in itself. Like we had to fly. We flew from Ulaanbaatar again. We went to South Korea. We spent a little time in Seoul. We then flew down to Indonesia, and we had. In fact, I watched the World Cup. Was it the World Cup final? Was that France Brazil where someone got sent off with the one that he got sent off? Zinedine Zidane got sent off in.
When he headbutted.
That was the World Cup final, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Italy, no?
Italy, yeah.
Sorry? 2006.
Yeah, that one. So I watched the World Cup final there, in between. So we were on the beach in Indonesia.
Wow.
We spent 5 nights there. We then flew down to Cairns, had a few nights in Cairns, and I did a skydive over the Great Barrier Reef while we were there.
Where's that?
Cairns, Australia.
Cairns.
It's my accent. Cairns. Cairns. So that's where the Great Barrier Reef is.
Anyone know this place?
Cairns, come on.
I know the Great Barrier Reef.
There we go.
Yeah, Great Barrier Reef, I know.
To get to the Great Barrier Reef, people stop at Cairns, right? And so I did a skydive there. We then went from Cairns to Port Moresby. Port Moresby and that's the capital of Papua New Guinea. That was an eye-opener. Like that, I never realised. I'd never heard of Port Moresby. I'm not going to lie to you. And that was a crazy place. Like very dangerous. Like. Very dangerous. I mean, like people who probably live in Port Moresby would go, yeah, it's not very dangerous. But our experience of it was we had armed guards everywhere. So our hotel was armed guarded. We got into the minibus that took us to the restaurant. Armed guards. There was an armed guard on the front of the restaurant. Like it was all proper like that. Like I just didn't think it'd be like that anyway. But it was an amazing place. Don't get me wrong. Papua New Guinea. We'll come on to that one because we did another one in Papua New Guinea itself in the rainforest. And this one's at the Trobrian Islands.
So which one's first?
Trobrian Islands. So we then go to the Trobrian Islands.
Okay, cool.
This was intense. They hadn't seen.
So from Papua New Guinea, you go to the
Trobrian Islands,
Trobrian
from Port
okay.
Moresby to the Trobrian Islands, yeah. And it was intense.
Right.
Like they hadn't. So this was like a place of what they would say black magic and all of this. And we were split into 2 groups. And I didn't do seafood. In fact, let me tell you something.
Yeah, how much are you struggling with that food
Right.
thing?
The food Mongolia wasn't too bad because it was just stuff, right? This was bad because you were by the sea and I couldn't do seafood. And you know why I don't like seafood? Because I ate a bad sea urchin in Malta when I was really young and was violently sick for a long, long time. And that put me off seafood.
Ah, shit.
Even to this day, my first breakfast in that place was a crab. Just a crab on my plate, left on my doorstep. That was my very first breakfast in the Trobrian Islands. It was crazy. Like with the tribe.
What did you do? Did you eat it or
I had to eat it. Yeah, that was the thing. Like I then just ate it. You know, you just learn to eat it. But the crazy thing there with the intense. So the sport was a game of tribal cricket. Because they were headhunters back in the day and they would have feuds between villages, the Christians invented the cricket game for them so that they could solve their issues via a game of cricket, tribal cricket, rather than killing each other, right? So that's how they did it. But what was really intense with that one, I had a little wooden hut and I didn't get left alone. From dawn till dusk through the night. There'd be eyes peering at me through the gaps. I'd go to the toilet. I'd have a line of people follow me for a number 2. And I'd have a number 2 in the bushes. They'd all be standing around wondering how on earth a white person has a number 2. And then you'd walk, it was it was intense. It was
Jesus.
It was an experience in itself just to have and then you'd just want to get away from it and you'd go into your hut and then in all the gaps of your hut, you'd have everybody just staring at you through the gaps of your hut.
Fuck. Again, irresponsible, but were you scared or?
There were times there that
this sounds like one of those Jonestown places where people are really fucking all psycho.
No, you know what? No, I think for what you learn is actually they're curious, right? If they've not seen white people for so long, they're going to be curious.
Yeah, but are they curious to the point of what I felt was they're probably a bit concerned. Like that you guys might be something terrible for the village and they should never have left you in.
I would never have known because no one told me that.
Okay.
Right? There were times where you would go to sleep and go, am I going to be here tomorrow? Because like I said to you, the camera crew and everyone was somewhere else. So you were on your own. We definitely felt like that in Nagaland in India because they were on the verge of civil war there and we had to have special permits to go in there. And we felt like at times that we could have been used as...
a bit of fodder.
Yeah, to sort of negotiate and things like that.
You thought you were going to get kidnapped.
Yeah, and be negotiated for. There were times that we felt like that when we were out there. That might be extreme. The BBC would probably turn around and go, yeah, it's a bit extreme, that is. But that's how it felt at times. This one was very much, because they would never have known if they would have come, because they were on the verge of civil war, that we were only allowed in Nagaland because Nagaland is a province of India. But actually from the war time, it was took over by, there was a war with the British. There was a Battle of Kohima, and it was because it's on the border of Burma.
Right.
During the war, and then it was given to India. From what I understand, was given to India. So Nagaland were fighting for independence, and tourists aren't allowed in there. And to get in there, they had to give us a permit, and so they used that as leverage to put Nagaland on the map,
right?
And give them a bit of status, yeah. But there were times that we felt like that in Nagaland.
But we're still in...
we're still in our diverse. Sometimes I'm going to have to diverse a little bit just to...
Yes, that's a whole lot of fun for me. So yeah, please do.
Yeah, so in the Trobrian Islands, it was... There was all of this black magic and there was all of this... There was a real dark undertone to the place. There was. It felt dark. And... What we did learn is that there was no black magic at all. What it was that we found out stuff that the villagers didn't even, because they tell you things like through translators. So what we found out was that actually the chief of the village poisons people and pretends it's black magic. Like that's how he'd get rid of people in the village, right? And it was a fact. Like. So they would all they would all be scared of this black magic when actually it would just be the chief just poisoning them just to get rid of them.
Thank fuck I'm born in the West, bro.
So it was, it was like a really, really. We weren't made to feel unwelcome, but we didn't feel welcomed
at the
the same time.
Women and the kids at this? How big is this community?
So we were in the mangrove side, which wasn't a nice side of the village. But there was...
Is there like one village?
50? No, there was loads of different villages. And they were all rival villages.
Island?
Yeah, they're all rival villages as well.
Okay.
So the Trobrian Islands actually existed through... they would trade. So they would trade, all the different islands would have something to trade. So they existed via trading...
With one another.
One another. A bit like when the Phoenicians travelled through Malta and they traded the stuff through... You like my Maltese history there, right?
Yes. We had a very long Maltese history podcast yesterday.
There you go, you're experts then.
Felt like it started in the time of the Knights and finished yesterday. It was long. It was good.
Well, I'm hoping this one's not going to be that long. So there was a dark undertone to that. Even like the sport wasn't a dangerous sport. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. It was. I had some brilliant experiences there. Don't get me wrong. Doing the tribal dancing to the game and playing the game. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of, we just enjoyed that. But the actual living experience wasn't as enjoyable as Mongolia or as free as Mongolia was.
Throughout all these experiences, how big of an impact does the culture shock have on how you're processing this whole thing? Like, is the culture shock so distracting that it's also influencing the way you're performing in the games?
No, I don't think the culture shock affected how you were performing in the games. The food, the jet lag, all of those things, the lack of sleep, those were affecting you in the games. But in terms of your actual happiness there and your sense of security, your self-security, you certainly, there were times where you were so low and you're having to kick yourself and go, hang on a second. Like you're having to give yourself a pep talk and go, but this is an amazing experience. Just enjoy it. And you're constantly telling yourself that because you are going through such tough times, through those times of isolation, although there was lots of people around you, there were times of isolation. Trobrian Islands was a classic example. And probably I would say, it was the second place I went to, but I would probably say the biggest place. And I come out of that one going, if I could do that one, I can do all of the others. And actually, none of the others were as intense and as an emotional roller coaster in those inner things.
And what made it intense was these people just following you around everywhere.
It was just like... What can I say? Like, I mean, the best thing you can probably say is like an animal in a cage.
Yeah,
like, and they're
observed.
Constantly being observed, and you see animals frustrated by that.
So you
like
saw fascination in their eyes as well?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That like it wasn't. It was fascination. It was curiosity.
It was entirely that, you think?
I'd like to think it was.
Okay.
I'd, like being the
wouldn't
good
you think-
soul I am, like I'd like to think it was pure curiosity.
Yeah.
And I think I think actually it was. I don't think it's pure curiosity from the male element.
Yeah.
From children, especially pure curiosity.
Sure,
right?
sure,
They're
sure.
children. Children don't hate. Children hate because of the environment that they've been put into, in my opinion, right? And their influence from parents. What you learn actually is what I learned was that like I said to you, the men, it's an indigenous area. We weren't put into Western versions of settings. It was indigenous tribes, right?
Yeah.
Albeit there aren't many like pure indigenous tribes anymore.
And the people following you around were all male?
No, but they were kids loved it. Like kids were curious. That's what I mean. Kids were pure curiosity. The men in Senegal were brilliant. Like they just, like I said to you, I've diverse to Senegal, but I use the Senegal as an example of the men that just actually enjoyed you being there to train you. They were there purely just to train you. They enjoyed training you. They wanted to see what you could do.
What lives.
Right?
Man.
They wanted to just see how good you could perform because they were just huge specimens of men that were just damn skillful at wrestling. And they were not, it was interesting because they were not threatened by us in the slightest.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was the difference. They were not threatened by us in the slightest. So they were the most friendliest. They wanted you to do well. They wanted you to train. There was no... it was where the men were feeling threatened by your presence. It's natural, right? It's a natural instinct.
They were protecting their little castle.
Yeah, exactly that.
It's fantastic. All of these stories are great. Cool. So where do we go from here?
So,
what's the next place?
Oh, I've got to remember now. So Trobrian Islands. After Trobrian Islands, God, you're testing me now. We went back to Sydney and then back to home. Ready for the next one.
How long are you at home?
Not long, like a few days. Sometimes a few days. Maximum, it was like a week. And over a period of 13 months of filming, like it's not a long time. Yeah. We then went
But is it weird to be home for a week after being in such strange parts of the world?
So what the craziest thing was, and this is how adapting and how mentally tough it was that work, I had an agreement with work that if I ever did come back, I'd have to go back to work. And I remember I'd just finished stick fighting in South Africa and we couldn't get the passport, the visa for the next one. And I had to go back the day after, literally the day after I'd finished fighting the Zulus. We got out quick and I literally went from the Zulus to work the following day. And everybody was at work. We were like, they knew where I'd gone and they were all like, so what were you doing? Like what? And I'm like, I can't even tell you. Like you just wouldn't be able to comprehend what I've been doing. So I didn't even bother explaining. What I did do though was while I was going around, because we had like video cameras that we would have to do video diaries. So I would sneak in extra tapes and do my own personal video diaries. What I did do is that I put the tapes. I gave the tapes to a guy at work, and I knew he was a computer wizard. And I said, "Can you put these onto a DVD for me?" And it was only when he seen them, because I was giving them to him, and he was like, "Mark, like, I can't believe, like, I'm watching these things," and he's like, "I'm in disbelief at what you're."
What did people think of you before you did all of this? Like, did the people's idea of Mark Hoban change?
You know what? I think people have an idea of you, whatever, and I don't think I will ever know what that idea would have been. You know, only because I look at myself at my age now, and I see how different I am now to how different I was 3-4 years ago. I'd like to think that they still felt I was the same Mark. Like,
but do you think that before you actually went out and did all of these crazy things, did the people that worked with you in the office think that you'd be that type of person?
Yeah, I think if it was going to be anyone, it was going to be me, right?
Right. Okay.
I think in their eyes, because I was into my fitness and the adventure, and you know, I think if it was going to be someone in that office, it would have been me.
Right.
But
okay.
God, like I said to you, like, you never think it's going to be you, do you?
Of course. And I was exactly saying that because of your friend saying, like, Mark, I'm watching this in disbelief.
Yeah.
Like, for them, it must have been like a different universe.
It was a different universe to all of us. Like, it is a dream. I still pinch myself. Now I still pinch myself. Like, and in fact, when was the last time I watched the series? I need to watch the series more, because the last time I've watched it was about probably 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, with an ex-girlfriend, because like they wanted just to know what you'd done, and I've not watched it again since. And a part of me, like, I never give myself enough credit.
Where can people watch it?
So it was on Discovery Channel.
Is there like
no, unfortunately,
an on-demand version of Discovery?
No, unfortunately, it used to be, but it's gone now. The only way you'd find it now is clips on YouTube. If you Google, like, Mark Hoban Last Man Standing, for example, you'll have clips on that. But I don't know whether you'd be able to get the whole. You used to be able to, because it was a box set on DVD.
Okay.
So they sold a lot of DVD box sets. So I've got my Discovery version box set, and I've got my BBC version box set.
What's the difference?
So one's more anthropology, and the other one's more combat, swearing. Swearing.
You motherfucker!
Yeah, and a different narration to it all.
I saw a part of your show, and there was this race going on, and someone just like halfway just decides they're going to call off the race.
This was in Mexico, wasn't it? We were running in Mexico with the
tarahumara. The American
and
guy was pissed.
Yeah, you know what the reality was behind that. So this is interesting. So yeah, it wasn't always as it cracks up when they
edit it down.
Yeah, when they edit it down, they obviously have a motive, don't they? They want to make drama. They want to make suspense drama. But there was some ways that they're like. Obviously, there are elements of truth to it all, but sometimes things are a little bit changed. But that was a tarahumara. We had to run a marathon in the Mexican mountains. I don't know whether you know about the Tarahumaran people. The indigenous Tarahumaran people are famous for distance running, and they distance run in sandals.
Okay.
They're incredible. But and that's their history and their tradition, and they do it whilst kicking a wooden ball around with them. So it's a race with a wooden ball.
Oh, wow. And for how far?
It's a marathon.
A full marathon?
Yeah, they're incredible, right? So we had to run a marathon in sandals in the mountains. It's like 32 degrees, 30 degrees. And we did that. And we got there, and we were expecting this amazing welcome. And in fact, this was probably the next one, I think. But we were expecting this amazing welcome in Mexico. And we travel, and we go up into the mountains, and it's in Chihuahua. It's the region of Chihuahua, which is the most dangerous place in Mexico, because obviously all the drugs go into America through Chihuahua.
Okay.
Right? So it's the most, and we're oblivious to how dangerous Chihuahua is, but we're in the mountains. We don't see any young men at all. All we see is young boys and old men, and then women. And we're like, where are all the old men? They're all like, they're up there, and there was a ridge. So all of the young men and all the boys were drunk all the time. The old men were drunk all the time, and all the working aged men were all up in the mountains growing marijuana to be shipped into USA. Yeah, so that was a really weird experience. That one was like we had a good feel for it, and we did that marathon in the mountains. And Jason was pissed that it got called off, but actually there was 2 of us ahead of Jason when it got called off that weren't giving up. So actually we were. I was ahead of Jason at that point.
Right.
Ryko was slightly ahead of me, but Ryko was about to give up. So then it would have been me, and I weren't ever giving up because I just don't give up. And then Jason wouldn't have given up either. So, but for the drama of the program, Jason needed to Ryko won it in the end though, didn't he? That one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryko won that one in the end.
All right.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. The food was good there though. That food was good. The tacos, homemade tacos, and it was very Mexican. Proper Mexican food. That was absolutely loved that one.
And did you like Mexican food before you went?
Well, it's like rice. You can't go wrong with rice, can you? Like,
Rice, spicy beans.
yeah, I didn't like spice before I went away. I loved spice after the India trip. That was like hot curry for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but not just normal hot curry. Mm-hmm. This was like your lips go red, on fire, hot curry. That was baptism of fire, literally, into spicy food for me.
So yeah,
there wasn't much spice in the indigenous Mexican food. There wasn't much spice. It was literally beans, a bit of rice, and,
do they
and
like
just
beef
homemade
there as well?
taco.
Mexico.
Yeah, but of course you've got to remember that in the it's like Mongolia. Like there's lots of lamb, but you never ate that. That was the indigenous people didn't eat the expensive part of the food. So, for example, in Mongolia, your part of the sheep was sheep's brain, sheep's penis, sheep's ears, sheep's tongue, goat's testicles. That was your food, because what they then did, they then sold all of the good
better
meat
cuts
to the people in the cities. Mm-hmm. So you never got the really good stuff. We only had the good stuff in Peru. Peru, we had some decent meat in Peru.
How many countries did you go to in total?
12 indigenous tribes.
And is Peru next?
No, Peru's one of the last ones. So we've just done Mexico. So now I might as well tell you the I'll tell you the Brazil one, the cal-ohra wrestling. So the cal-ohra wrestling was the very first one in the series. That's the very first program.
Okay.
But it wasn't. It was the third one to be. Yeah, it was the third one to be filmed. So we went from Trobrian Islands back home. Then we went to cal-ohra to do the cal-ohra. So this was in Brazil. We went and lived with a tribe there that we had to have permission. The BBC and Discovery Channel had to apply for permission to the Brazilian government.
Right.
That we could go in. So we had to have.
Why is it so important for the Brazilian government to know if you're going?
Because they want to protect the tribes. So they do it to protect them. To stop anybody just going in and Western civilization
impinging on their their lives.
Yeah.
Is it also a case that they hadn't seen Westerners or outsiders for a long time? Yeah,
like I said, Brad was a celebrity again because he was the strong. Because it's a wrestling one as well. These guys didn't like you. They really liked the rival tribes again. It was that masculinity thing.
Right.
What was incredible about this place, and this is where some good stories come in now. We fly into Sao Paulo. We then go to another city called Guyana, which was massive. Like, I didn't realise how big these cities were. Never even heard of them. So we went into Guyana, yeah.
I thought Guyana was a country.
No, that's Guyana. This is Guyana in Brazil. It's just a small city in Brazil. All right. So say a small city, it's still 2 million people. So it's still like... and then we went to a little tiny hold-in place where we'd then get a light aircraft into the Amazon itself. And of course, I've never been to a rainforest before, let alone the Amazon. This was like, whoa, we're going to the Amazon. Now, this was like the stuff dreams are made of as well, isn't it? What was really, really disappointing, and I need all your listeners to understand this, is it's not until you fly over deforestation of the Amazon that you realise how big and how, like, we were nearly in tears
Oh, wow.
like in the plane going into the Amazon, seeing the extent of deforestation. It was really, for us, it really destroyed us actually, to see what was happening. It was like, as far as the eye could see, deforestation of the Amazon. It was horrific.
Oh shit! What
You don't understand it until you go and see it for yourself.
Why are we performing so much deforestation?
Well,
What are the main contributors of deforestation?
anyone help us out?
Yeah, Adele can always help us out with that.
I mean, wood imports, I'd imagine, right? And obviously agriculture.
And agriculture, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Probably.
That's a guess. That'd be the most plausible thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So industrial agriculture, timber logging, mining, expansion and infrastructure, climate change. Climate change is causing deforestation because it's burning forests up. Mad.
And like I said to you, you don't really understand it until you go and see it for yourself.
Everyone shocked?
We were shocked, all of us. It was like, it was upsetting. It really was.
And that's 2006.
That was 2000. So you can imagine
Wow.
what it's like now.
16 years ago.
You can imagine what it's like. It blew us away. But we then flew over that and went into the Amazon. And what you ever, I don't know who's been to a proper deep rainforest here.
No.
But the moment you get, so we were on this little two-seater aircraft. We had two-seater aircrafts like going in. And when you went in, the moment that door opens, boom. It's like, I mean, I know you come out, you get off the plane when you come to Malta in heat in the summer, and you get
heat wall.
Yeah. But this was suffocation. This was like, whoa, like this is hard to breathe. Like you just sweat. Like you're soaking wet within the first like 15 minutes of getting off it's unbelievable.
Does it like burn?
Yeah, it's like you struggle to breathe. Yeah, it's incredible. Like it was I'd never experienced anything like it. It was crazy.
Did they prepare you for any of this stuff? Or
no, they prepare you for the snakes. They prepare you for some of the insects. They do prepare you for the snakes. I'll give them that. They do prepare you for those.
How does that work? Like, do they take you to a classroom and?
Yeah, it is pretty much a makeshift classroom where they give you pictures of snakes and go, right, don't do that, avoid that one, right, but do that. You have a bit of jungle training to how to chop things, and so we had like serving military people with us and stuff like that. But what was amazing about the Kalapalo, I mean, if you actually Google like me and Last Man Standing, you'll see some pictures of me with the Kalapalo wrestlers. And they're on my Instagram as well.
And so that's okay. So it's while you're in the country, right, that they give you the training.
Yeah, for that specific area. Yeah,
for that specific area. Okay.
And I've gotten some really good story about that, like later.
About the snakes?
Yeah, about the snakes. But that's in another country. But I'm going to tell you a story of this one now. So the hosts meet us. We go on boat. We end up walking through the woods and the forest, and we get given our house. And in our house, you sleep in hammocks. And we used to film ourselves in hammocks through the night because we always wondered what happened in the middle of the night. We wished we hadn't filmed ourselves in the rats. Like you're asleep and you're seeing rats crawling all over you and things crawling all over you in the middle. I was crazy. Like you're thinking, I'm not going to sleep again tonight. You're watching things go all over because you're asleep on your hammock. You don't even.
Wow. Yeah,
you don't even register it. But we went. Me and Jason, they gave us two. So me and Jason, the BMXer, the crazy 6 foot, he was brilliant lad. This is an incredible story. So we were living with our host, and our host, there was two brothers who lived in the house with his family. And the one morning they woke us up. The BBC or the Discovery Channel weren't around. They were they were somewhere camping somewhere else. And they woke us up and they said, we're going to go fishing. They didn't say it in English, obviously. Like this was through our dictionaries and our like game of charades. And
by this time, he must have grown like really competent at this game of the dictionary.
Well, this was number 3, right? So you tend to you know what
Now you know what you need to do.
Because there's still no toilets, are there? Like you still not get any of that. You're still doing everything in the woods. And so they've gone. We're going fishing. They told us to come. So bearing in mind, me and Jason's from the Everglades. Like he's from Florida.
Right.
All right. So I'm going to describe this to you. So you know when you watch David Attenborough programs.
Sure.
You know when they show Amazon rivers, and you see like a river, and the trees are all over the top, and it's
all arching.
Yeah,
It's like an
arching over the
arcade
river.
of
Yeah.
Foliage.
So we're like, okay, we're going fishing. You go, come with us. We've got nothing on our feet, just a pair of swimming shorts, and we follow them. We follow them through the woods, down a path. We get down to this river. This river, it's like a little holding pond that goes onto the river. Now, bearing in mind, I don't know if you know about Amazon rivers or not. They're not safe places to be going swimming in, right? They're just not safe places. So we're there, and the hosts have gone into the water. They've got sticks. They've got sticks in front of them.
Crazy.
And I'm like, why have you got sticks? Well, I'll tell you why in a second. So we're like, they've disappeared around the corner, and I'm thinking, right, me and Jason are going, so they're going to be back in a second. We thought they were going to come back with a boat. No, they didn't come back with a boat. They come back to get us in the water. So they've called us into the water, and we're walking, going into this river, and I'm like, Jason, man, like what, I'm like, you're from Florida, like, what the fuck's going on here? And he's gone, dude, he's like, I don't know. He's like, but there's, he said, like, there's a stingray in this, like, the Amazon rivers are full of stingray. Now, if you know about stingray, you don't want to be hit by a stingray.
Yeah.
You don't want to stand on a stingray. That's what their sticks were for. So their sticks, they're prodding the floor in front to kick up stingray so that they don't stand on them.
Oh, wow.
So that's what the barb of stingray are
Is
for.
the stingray like an aggressive fish?
No. Not unless you tread on them. The moment you tread on them, they have a barb, and that barb slices into your foot, and it's like it causes really bad. If your foot's still on, it causes really bad infections, and barbs can kill you. So Steve Irwin got killed by a stingray, right?
So how did Steve Irwin manage to get himself killed?
So he was playing with one, and it turned and sliced him in the chest.
Purposely?
Well, I don't. Well, the stingray will have just wanted to escape, wouldn't it?
Okay.
So it felt threatened, probably. I don't know. I didn't see the footage. But for us...
Did we interview the stingray?
Yeah, it went straight in, didn't it? Into his...
Yeah, because it looked like... to me that I knew nothing about stingrays, it just looked like the thing just lunged into his chest.
Yeah, so that's what they do with the barb, though. So we there was one nasty accident where a local got his foot done with a barb. But we were in this river. And this is God's honest truth now. I'm going to explain to you exactly. If Jason was here, Jason is probably going to listen to this. He'll listen to it. The Americans will listen to this. So that's good. You've got you a bit of an American audience.
There we go. Broadening our audience to
Happy
the
days, yeah.
ambassador to the UK. Because by the way, he's fucking half Maltese, this guy. Told no one about this. That's our little secret.
I'm going to come.
He's half Maltese.
I've got a Maltese passport.
Yeah, I
I'm
should have given context to this fucking thing in the beginning.
I'm going to come back to that. You know, I'm going to talk about me being half Maltese. I'll come back to that one. Anyway, so let me tell this story, right? Because it's my favourite story to tell, really. So we've gone down and we've got to about chest height water, and the way that they were fishing was they pulled a net all the way across the river.
Right.
And the host was one side of the river, the brother was the other. We're then in the water, and Jason's going, look, from my experience of the Everglades, what we need to do is put our feet under the mud of the floor of the river and scoop our feet so that if there are any stingray, rather than stepping on them, we're kicking them up so that they go away. So I might have to get out of the seat in a second and pull everything down. But so I'm scooping through the floor. Jason's scooping through the floor. We're holding the net in the middle of the river. The river's up to here on us, right? We're going through the river, holding it. We've got a bag each for the fish that the host is putting the fish in. So we're there, and the host is putting the fish in the bags. I'm holding the net. He's holding the net. One host is there, one side of the river. The other host is on the other. They're walking with the nets there. I've got fish in here. I've got a stingray underneath. I'm under the mud trying to kick the stingray. I'm looking at Jason going, what the fuck's going on here, Jason? Like, I don't feel safe here. Like, this doesn't feel good. Next thing, our hosts stop either side, and they've stopped. And they're looking, and they look concerned. And I've stopped. Jason stopped, and we've looked at them. We're going, this alligator.
Oh, shit.
And I'm not joking. I promise you, 5 meters, not even 5 meters, comes across, swims across, turns, and just stops and looks at us, right? It gets worse. So I've got my feet under the mud to not stand on stingray and getting killed by stingray. We've got an alligator 5 meters away staring at us. Next thing, my bag starts going in a frenzy. Red-bellied piranha are attacking all the fish.
Oh, fuck.
All the fish in the bag. So I've gone, Jason, something's attacking. It's gone, dude. Something's attacking mine too. We've got this alligator looking at us. We've got stingray underneath our feet. We've got our hands going that are being attacked by red-bellied piranha. It couldn't get worse. We're like, so the next thing, this alligator then drops under the water. Jason turns around to me, he says, dude, he's gone, that's a big gator, that, because you can tell, he told me, you can tell by the width of the eyes, right? He's gone, that's a big gator, you know. He said, that's about a 9-10 foot gator, like, easily. I'm like, Jason, I don't want to know that right now. I've got red-bellied piranha attack. Don't tell me that. Like, I'm like, he turns around and goes, what the fuck are we doing? Like this. I'm like, absolutely. It was like the most surreal thing. So then all of a sudden the hosts have started to relax a little bit. The alligator's got up. He's gone out of the side, and he's just gone and stood on the side and watched us just having this wonderful time in the middle of this Amazon River. That's exactly like what you would see in the David Attenborough films with the trees coming over. We finish our fishing. We get out the side. We make a little... What did you catch? With the catch that's left.
What did you catch?
I'm not an expert on it. Was fish, right?
But like more fish.
It was more fish, right?
Okay.
So, I'm not an expert on Amazonian fish. Like I ate it. So that was the thing. So when we caught...
But you're no good with seafood.
No, but this was the amazing thing about this was where I learned how to debone a fish. I was an expert. This was the crazy thing. Don't eat fish. By the end of the Brazilian trip, I was an expert in deboning fish with just my hands. Wow. Like expert. It was like you had the root, so you'd take off the spine, you'd flip the fish over. You knew which side of the fish to flip over before you took out all of it was like...
You fucked it like that and you never knew its name.
Never knew its name.
That's terrible.
No. It was very nice though, white fish. It was like a white fish. Red-bellied piranha were good to eat as well, but they'd already had their meal. They'd had their fun.
What, red-bellied piranha is the thing that they fish?
They eat them. They're quite big fish. They eat them as well. They catch them and eat them as well. They were like a big staple.
How dangerous
diet.
Are they really?
They're not really. Not to us. Not to humans. But you don't know that. Like it's only until after the event that you like. But they've got this really bad reputation. But it's not for humans. Like they'll frenzy on a fish, but no, not.
So like I believe I don't know if it's like a memory that I've convinced myself I've seen. Of like, say a horse carcass being dropped into the river, and then the piranhas come, and they just maul it down to the. So they don't touch it.
So they demolish it.
They do demolish it.
You can imagine what was going on in the bag. The moment there's a fish, boom,
very aggressively,
really aggressive, but they didn't do anything to us. So I think maybe we still had a leg on or something. I think if we had half a leg on, I think it'd be a bit different, wouldn't it?
That would be.
Have a feast.
That would be. Sensational.
But yeah, so the BBC, when we got back, the BBC found out about that and they absolutely ripped us another bumhole. Like they were like, don't ever go and do something like that again.
So wait a second, this was not sanctioned by the producers?
No, the hosts took us. We had no choice.
Oh, so I was thinking
no
the camera crew was following. Oh shit!
No, this was just us. So this was the crazy thing. So the BBC absolutely went mad. They were like, "Do you know how dangerous that was? Do you know?" I'm like, "Hang on a second." I said, "1 minute we're told to immerse ourselves in
the culture,
and the local life." I said, "You weren't even in the village to like." Oh, it was amazing. You know what? I look back at that experience and go, there ain't many people in the world
that went through any of
that has done that. That was like, it was one of those moments of wow, this shit's really happening. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But that was crazy. Some of the rituals there were brilliant. There was
and these hosts were the ones that were training you for
Kalapalo wrestling.
The Kalapalo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so people were asking about food. In that we were there for 2 weeks with them. And at one point they went on holiday somewhere and the BBC didn't know that they went on holiday. We didn't eat for 3 days. They went and left us. We didn't eat. I think we had 1 cup of rice in 3 days, and we had to still compete because the BBC didn't realise that they'd gone. We hadn't told anyone that they'd gone. We'd just gone hungry.
You didn't have any way of communicating?
We just didn't tell them. Like, we had to go and perform and compete, but we just assumed that was like what they ate. We didn't realise they'd gone.
Okay.
Yeah,
you just thought that this is the regular quantity of food that one gets in this
we didn't
household.
realise. We just thought they'd disappeared hunting or something, and they didn't come back, and we didn't get fed.
Oh,
so we were starving. Like that
must have been
especially
impossible to compete.
It was hard.
A state that's like
it was hard. It
not
was hard.
helpful at all.
Yeah, it was hard. I didn't do very well in that episode.
No?
No.
Okay, let's pause there for a second. Yeah, we'll be right back after this break. Fuck, mate. Mawra sal-ħadnu ta' Derek mhux transazzjoni kif ġibu laħaq, fejn apparti tinqeda blifjen kwalità se tiġi mejjun sabiex issawwar l-arfin tiegħek dwar dak li qed tiekol u titma' lil familtek. Biss jekk m'għandekx il-ħin tgħaddi fejnhom il-belt, ibad WhatsApp lil Derek fuq 9986-6425 biex waslulek ix-xirja fuq l-adba. And we're back. So we're in the Amazon. You did the Kalapalo, but that didn't go so well.
No.
Why
no,
not?
it didn't go well. I got my ass whooped. Is that like another? Is that a theme of me getting my ass whooped?
It's part of the hero's journey, my friend.
It is part of the journey. If you got to fail first before you can succeed, haven't you? I got my ass whooped, so what was brilliant though? But there was a good thing to that. So basically, we had a mini tournament where we fought against each other to decide who will go forwards to the end thing, and I didn't make that. So 3 athletes made the big festival battle, so to speak, at the end.
With all the locals.
Yeah, with all the different villages coming. We got sent out of the village while they did their final training.
Were you not allowed to be there?
No, we weren't allowed to be there for TV, probably.
Okay.
And we got sent away, but what was amazing, we got sent away to actually go proper fishing. Right. So this was fishing where we had boats, and this was fishing where obviously the camera crew were there. And so what they would do for this fishing, and to be fair, it was a really good experience. So we went and stayed, all the women go and stay in the woods, in the forest. And we went with the women, and we had our hammocks, and we stayed there the night, open hammock, sleep in the night in the jungle. I don't know whether you know, but in the jungle during the day is actually a quiet place. But the jungle at night is when it comes alive. And it is just the most incredible experience at night. So we got to experience jungle for the very first time. We experienced it again later in the series, but for the very first time, we experienced the jungle underneath, like without any cover. You're actually in the forest with your hammock between 2 trees, with all the sights, the sounds.
Is there like netting above the hammock?
No, we were in a hammock.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And what kind of sounds are you hearing?
Like
it
just comes alive. Like the noise, the animals, the insects. Like it's just so noisy, but it's like a therapeutic noisy. Does that make sense? Like
yes.
It's
like one of those YouTube tracks that are 10 hours long.
Right, exactly that. But twice as loud as that. Like, unfortunately, you can't control the volume of what you're listening to, but for some reason it's therapeutic.
Is it still calming, even though it's so loud?
I mean, it's really strange because it was the first time that you're experiencing it, and it's loud, but it's also very peaceful at the same time. it was just a very different experience. It's quite a spiritual. I don't want to be the cliche, but it's quite a spiritual experience of just being so with nature in a like.
I think the
proper
closest
nature,
the closest thing
proper
you can
nature.
get to like the spiritual is where like you're in awe of something.
You were in awe.
And you are
good
for
way to
sure.
describe it, John. Yeah, you were in awe, and we were there to do this fishing. And what you do with the
May I just ask about the size, because I really want to imagine this.
Yeah.
So outside of the sounds, when you look up, are you seeing pitch black? Are you seeing
at night time? What was crazy? So yeah, you couldn't see much because there's canopy and there's trees, right? But when you're in an indigenous place, Mongolia was the best example of this. You look up, because there's no light pollution at all. There is not one drop of light pollution. The stars is like watching an episode of Star Wars.
well? Okay.
Like, it's like something else. And it's funny, we all used to lie on our back, right, and just stare, and we just used to, it sounds daft, but it's that clear, and there's that many stars, like, you would pretend that you were actually in a spaceship. Like, it was just, it's crazy with that little light pollution. But in Brazil, you had the canopy, so it wasn't quite...
When you're going through all of these insanely fairy tale-like moments, are you reconsidering what you thought life is about?
So there's the cliche, which is, I remember saying it at the very start, it changes your life.
Just move the mic a bit closer. Is that what you're saying?
It
I'm hearing it
changes...
like super clear. I don't know how you guys are hearing. Yeah? Okay.
It changes your life. I said it's life-changing, but not in that cliche way. Like, because you're going through such an emotional roller coaster journey, because you're under so many different pressures, it's difficult to hang on to those things. Because like I said, there's so many ups and downs. You are struggling sometimes. You are. And I remember saying to you that you have to kick yourself. You're annoyed with yourself. You're like, come on, this is a
once in a
lifetime experience, and I should be really. But the low times were, low times. But what was
it mostly lows?
No. It was mostly challenging. I had a few low times, but I managed myself quite well, I think. And I tried to enjoy it as much as I could, because I kept kicking myself up the backside going, come on, enjoy this experience. When you're starving, come on, enjoy this. When you're beaten up, you're bleeding, you're cut, things are broken, you're like, come on, you're supposed to enjoy this experience. And although I never got through to the final of that Kalapalo, I told you, we got then a new experience, the three of us, where we were sleeping under the stars, where we went fishing, a different type of fishing, and it was incredible. So the way that they did it, they would use this root, where they would smash this root, put nets around so that the fish couldn't go anywhere, put the root into the water, poisons the water, which then makes the fish jump. And so what you try and then do is catch the fish into your boat.
Oh, okay.
So it's fishing by actually catching the fish in midair, and the spectacle of it, or all the village were out like on the boats, just catching all these flying fish just from massive fish just coming out and flying, and they're flying at you in every direction, and you're trying to hit them and catch them in nets in the air rather than in the water. Oh, it was crazy.
Can you imagine the first guy that went into the water with a root and just saw these fish suddenly just jump everywhere?
Start jumping.
What the fuck is this?
Honestly, but we were like that. We were like, whoa, this is like crazy. And it was funny at that point, that was when one of the local people got hit by the barb of a stingray during that moment of the enjoyment of the fishing. But it was a spectacle. Now that one is on camera. That one is visible on the
series.
On the series,
the barb going into the
no.
The
The fish coming out. They didn't put that bit. The fish and us trying to catch the fish and slam them into. It was crazy.
Is it like
brilliant.
multitudes of fish?
Yeah, like you'd have to watch it. It's like they just keep coming, different sizes, and you're just hitting them into the boat. That's crazy. What the effect that this route had on the fish in the water, it just turned them into this flying frenzy trying to get out. It was crazy. So we were lucky to experience that. The others didn't get to experience that. Instead, they were getting beaten up in the village still.
And how did your colleagues fare? How did they do?
Only Brad. Brad won that one, the wrestling one.
Brad is the strong man.
Yeah, because he's difficult to move, isn't he? Like,
yeah.
The others did all right.
Did he win in the actual competition?
Not in that one. No, he won out of us lot though, so
Okay.
he won that episode.
So he was obviously advantaged in the wrestling.
Yeah.
So you felt like wrestling wasn't your strongest.
Well, I was good at it, but it wasn't like that one. I certainly wasn't very like, you know, to lose one wrestling match and then get kicked out. You're not given real great opportunity to be good at it.
figure out
Yeah.
if you actually.
But yeah, no, the wrestling ones, like I said to you, it tends to suit the bigger guys. If you're all on the same playing field, the bigger guys will be better than you at it.
Sure. And how did that feel?
You don't like losing, do you? You don't want to be there to lose. I tell you, like, it was gutting because to not get through to that final bit, I was really disappointed. But what took the disappointment away then was going to experience the other thing, which you then think, well, actually, I wouldn't have experienced this and had this amazing time if I didn't. So, like, every cloud had a silver lining.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
In that episode, anyway, it was. I was quite actually then like, actually, it wasn't so bad to lose this one because we went and did that.
Meanwhile, so is this the fourth place?
So I've explained 4 now.
Yeah.
So
how are you
far,
doing? How are you doing in the scoreboard?
I haven't won one yet.
Okay.
No.
And is there someone that's like
Brad's
ahead?
in the lead at the moment
He
because
won
of the
two of
wrestling.
the wrestling ones.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then did you go back home after that?
Brazil. Yep. We went. Oh, did we? Oh, you've asked me now.
And every time you go back home, like that for me must have been like, that's so weird to just.
Yeah, because I have to go straight back into work. Yeah, the Brazil one, we went there, we went back. It was the second time we went because we went to Brazil twice. We went to the Amazon twice. Later, we went again and we went via Chile and everything to get there. But no, this one, we went to Brazil, we went back, and then we went down to South Africa.
Does it feel like the world is on mute when you're back home?
The thing is that it's amazing when you're in that situation and you're isolated, you think about home. I think because it was it was a fresh experience when I was young, and I'd say 26, 27, like if I was to do it now, I wouldn't think about home once. I wouldn't even think about home. But because it was the first real experience of being away for so long, and to be pushed in so many different ways, so many new experiences, so many difficult situations, hunger, food.
Very little support structure.
Right, yeah, there wasn't. Like, the people around you were your support structure. But that was the whole idea. Look, that's what we signed up for. Because not having a support structure pushes you to your limits. That makes good TV, right? So we weren't an idiot with that. But you thought of home more. And that was the weird thing. And then you'd miss home more when those low points were there.
Were you looking for something in the sense inside, you know, like, I don't want to use the word spiritually again, but were you looking for some...
At that point, no. Again, it was...
purpose?
No. Again, at that point, it was about the experience. It was purely about travel, competition, and experiencing things new. When I then went to Nagaland for the kick fighting,
Right.
and I fractured my heel in a kick against a local, because that was my sport to lose, I realised then that there was an inner feeling of losing my dad just came back, and was it was quite an emotional battle at that point, and about not having an opportunity to win and just to not have that pride, my father pride and things like that, about losing. Because I did win an episode, and I'll tell you about that one when we talk about it. But the Nagaland one was kick fighting, and I was really good at it. Like, even the locals were like, this kid's good. And I was beating the locals as well as beating...
Because kickboxing's your sport.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And I even beat Brad. There's a great picture of me taking Brad out, like, and he's the one that's been winning the fighting ones. And like, it was, there's a great picture actually on my Instagram of me, him on literally hitting the floor. So what's
the sport like? What's kick?
So Akakiti, it was called.
Okay.
Akakiti, kick fighting, and in Nagaland. And basically, you just have to kick your opponent to the floor, really.
And is there a certain part of the body where you can strike?
Yeah, it's normally like, I mean, it's not in your interest to kick them in the head because any martial artist would know, as soon as you kick to the head, if there's no arms involved, so you're vulnerable to lower strikes. And if you're putting your opponent onto the floor, it's quite a risky move anyway.
Right.
So it was mostly to the legs, to the hips. It made sense to do
just
that.
Try to get them
unstable,
off
balance, and then put them on the
then...
floor. Yeah.
Cool. And obviously you had high hopes for this, but...
Oh yeah, I was like, and some of the stuff we did there was crazy as well. Like we like I said, Nagaland, we might as well talk about Nagaland while we're on it now. So Nagaland's a province of India. And it's, as I said, it was on the verge of civil war. So we had to have checks in. There was armed.
Which part of India is Nagaland?
So you go northeast on the border of Burma.
Okay, and it's on the brink of which war?
It's just a civil war. They want to be their own country.
Okay, so they're separatists.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they want to be their own country. They want to be recognised as their own state.
Right.
All right. Which is why they've allowed us in to probably promote that, I would imagine. And like I said, when we were there, it was a case of that in the evenings you did sometimes, or you did feel like, actually at any point now they could come and take us out of our bed and use us for the plight, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was unlikely. I think the BBC probably knew what they were doing, but you did feel at any moment that could happen. And we did used to speak about it, like the boys, a lot. We were just like, actually, we could just disappear now and no one would be able to do anything about it. Like anything about it. But when we arrived there, they were headhunters quite recently as well in Nagaland. And we got greeted by this amazing indigenous traditional, like really aggressive dance with spears. And it just wasn't India. Like to us, it wasn't India. That wasn't India to us. So it was more.
Was it
Burma.
more like Samoan?
More like Burma. Like it was more Eastern than it was like Indian. I mean, even the way that they looked, they didn't look Indian. They didn't look what it was like. They looked
Burmese.
Yeah.
And is that what they wanted to like be annexed to Burma? Or did they just want
I don't
their
know.
own state?
I think it's independence. I don't think they were annexed to Burma. I just think they wanted to be independent. What was crazy there? Like we'd never even heard of the place, and we were in Kohima, the capital, and we went out for a walk in the evening, and a gentleman politely came up to us, and he spoke to us. He must have known who we were. We were literally out for about 10 minutes. We left the hotel. I didn't know we weren't supposed to. So we just went wandering out. And within 10 minutes, a bloke came up to us very polite and he just said, "Gentlemen, I think you need to turn round and I think you need to go back to your hotel." He said, "This place isn't safe for you. Go." So we just literally turned round and went off. And that was in the night. But during the day, what was crazy, we come across a war grave memorial place, and it was silent in the middle of this busy city in the mountain. And what was crazy was that when we looked at all the names on the graves, they were all British names, Scottish, English, and we'd never even heard of the place. And what really struck us when we went there was like, why as English people, like all of these people in these graves have got ancestors in England now, in Scotland now, and yet these people are forgotten in Kohima. Like, they're just forgotten in all of these war graves.
Why did they die? Why did they die there?
Second World War, I'd imagine it would be the Second World War. Okay. I think there was a Battle of Kohima at some point, wasn't there? And there was lots of fighting that happened in all of those regions that the films come out now, don't they? Like, that you never heard of. You know, the ones over in the Japan Islands and things like that. I had no idea
this happened.
Yeah. So, and every single name was an English name, and we were just like, why do we not know this? Are we like ignorant? Are we? I went back, and people had never even heard of Nagaland. I'm saying, like, these war memorials were like incredible. It was like, you know, when you see them in France and you see them all layered, it was just like that. It was crazy. So that was an interesting part of the trip. You know, that's not part of the indigenous, but just to understand certain elements of areas of the world that you're just not aware of. Yeah. So we went into the kick fighting. We got greeted by these guys with spears. It was very intimidating. They were lovely people. I'm not going to lie to you. We had a lovely time there. We did some crazy things. Everything was done barefoot, running around the mountains in pure barefoot. Like, we had a pole. So this is where the BBC, like, I think they met, like, I don't think they were supposed to do this, but it was all right in the end. But one of the challenges was to climb, how many feet? 6, 12, I'm just going by my height, 12, about 30-foot pole.
Okay.
And the challenge was to climb it with nothing.
Right.
So, like, one of our lads climbed it with his hands, nearly slips off this pole, like 20, like he would have killed himself. And then we all go and do it after him as well. It was just weird what you do, knowing, like, I wouldn't do that now. You'd joke. Like, just crazy stuff we had to do.
This was like part of the series.
Yeah, this was on there. You see it on the actual episode as well. But what was it? What was for me was I then got we got given a mini competition before the final competition, and I genuinely didn't want to fight in this competition because I was so on to doing well. And in the end, I got peer pressured into this fight against one of these locals, and we were kicking each other, and then I smashed my heel open on his shin, I think it was. There's
that's what it looks like in the footage,
on the picture,
yeah.
And I did this excruciating pain, and that was it. And I just knew that I was devastated, absolutely. That one was devastated. And then like for me, then I was away, and I had this time to myself where I wasn't involved in any of the competition. And because I was going to win it was going to be the first one that I was going to win, and I was devastated. And like, I just had a moment while I was there, this like moment of I don't know why, like, I don't even why, like, because I lost my dad when I was 18, and I just wanted him to be proud of everything that I was doing. And at that point, I felt like I'd sort of let everyone down because I was due to win it, and the accident happened. So that was I think that was probably the lowest point of the whole.
Was that everyone you thought you let down, or was it like your father?
Oh, no, it was just my dad, really, and myself. Yeah, it was my dad at that time. I look back now and I have a different like view, but I think because I've got older now and I've dealt with losing my dad only recently, like even now at my age, at 43, it's only now that I've finally got over all of that trauma that I've had to deal with, which is a journey in itself. Forget Last Man Standing, it's been a journey in itself of self-learning. I look back now.
What's that like, to lose like your dad at such a young age, when you're kind of like just maturing into manhood, and perhaps you need the guidance of...
Well, you know what? At the time, I just thought it was life. Because he took his own life, the way that I look back then, it was just, I just need to get on with my life. I need to just survive. I need to do everything now that I wasn't doing before. I'm a man now. I haven't got that, and the drive and it was just achieve. And I never really allowed myself to grieve. I was always on to the next challenge. I had to then go to university, and then I had to get a job. But success, like not succeeding wasn't an option. Like it was, I have to succeed. So everything, then the last man standing came. And then after that, I changed my career into teaching.
Did you later find out that all this competition and needing to be distracted was part of you not wanting to face the fact of your father's...
Yeah, massively. And I'm going to be very honest about it, because I think people look at me on the outside and they see everything I've achieved, you know, like the last man standing, the TV presenting, the third career. I've got through this career as a teacher, as I'm an assistant principal. I've got through that very quickly in a short space of time because I've been so driven. I'd neglected myself. And it wasn't then until like my late 30s, early 40s that all of my relationships were failing. And I was self-sabotaging relationships, never really understood why. I couldn't hold a relationship, not because I wasn't a good person, but I just couldn't cope with certain elements of loss that I'd experienced back then, which I've now learned through therapy and through having a massive... And people look at you and go, what, you've had a massive breakdown? I'm like, well, yeah, but like I've actually... started grieving for my dad at the age of 42, you know, like that's when the moment hit me. And because I'd sidelined all of that, because it was a big thing, you know, like I never realized how big it was. I was always like, no, I've just got to get on with things. That's what happens. Like, and then I realized actually, no, that's not a normal thing to happen to you. And then then you learn as you get older how it affects you.
How did you sabotage your relationships?
I just wasn't giving myself to someone through fear. I would always find ways out of it. Do you know what I mean? I'd find ways out of it. And I never really understood why I was doing it. Oh, well, I'm a commitment phobe. Like, it would be, you're a commitment phobe.
And you'd almost laugh about it, perhaps.
No, I'd hate myself for it.
Okay.
Because... and that was part of the problem. Because then once you start hating yourself and you start feeling guilty and things, what actually going then to it then snowballs, and you learn about yourself and you hit those real rock bottom moments. I said, now I look back at Last Man Standing to link the two together, like I'd be like loving life while I was there. It would be a completely different show for me because I've hit those very rock bottom moments and come out the other side. But it's only because I've looked in the mirror and I've literally stripped everything back.
Was that through like therapy?
That's through therapy, yeah. Through therapy. And I would say to anyone, go to therapy. Like everyone should go to therapy. Like, cause I tell you, like now I look at myself so differently and I understand why everything, because it's like crystal clear now. And the difference is you've got to understand what you want to go to therapy for, right, in order for you to make the changes. You've got to be ready to make the changes.
Yeah, that's interesting to me. Like, why did it take you 42 years?
It's a good question. And it's the question that, like, the therapist's like, but it doesn't matter. It's now. And now this is the start of your life. And yeah, it might come at 42. Because then I was looking back going, damn, why didn't this happen when I was 30? Why didn't this happen when I was 35? Unfortunately, it didn't. And I can't then start beating myself up for that either. Yeah. Like, it's pointless, right? Yeah. That's where therapy's really good. Therapy makes you, like, really make sense and makes you understand why things have happened. And actually, it's not all doom and gloom. It's you've had a really bad trauma and it's affected you. And your coping mechanism was to get on with stuff and just to be everything that you thought you needed to be, when actually what you just needed to do was love yourself. And so that's what the therapy goes. The therapy, a good therapist will help you understand that. I'm in the best place now I've been probably forever, really. Even though I've done all of those amazing experiences, and actually it's like you pinch yourself and you go, yeah, it was an amazing experience, but now's the start of...
Because you're at peace with yourself.
Yeah, exactly that. That's exactly it.
Wow.
And because not many people know what's happened to me, they don't see that side of me. They see the positive drive.
Was there anywhere like between 18 and 42 that you look back at and you were having like some sort of emotional breakdown? or just
Yeah.
like
Yep, I had one before Last Man Standing, but I look back now and it wasn't anything like what I had last year. Like, it wasn't anything like it. And I've had low moments, and I always thought maybe I was just suffering from a bit from depression. But the therapist said it really, really well. He said it can't be depression. He said, because you are driven, you want to get up in the morning, you want to do these things, you are very self-aware. He said, this is trauma-based. He said, all of this is trauma.
Right.
And he was spot on with it. And I knew I was with the right therapist. He just understood and just worked through everything.
what did he say was, I mean, I understand that it was like dealing with a trauma, but what was the trauma causing you? Was it like anxiety?
When I had the big breakdown, there's a massive element of anxiety at the start. That's what happens when you have your breakdown. It's anxiety, but I learned very quickly how to cope with that anxiety. I knew that this anxiety wasn't going to last forever. And because I wanted to graft, I'm a grafter. Like, I work hard at everything. I worked hard at this. I've never worked hard at anything. It was really difficult because actually, when you go through something like that, you don't want to tell people, right? People are ashamed to tell people. Actually, I've been more ashamed of just keeping everything within myself for 20 years than actually turning round to the people that are closest to me and asking for that help, and actually being very vulnerable, because I've never wanted to be vulnerable with a partner, self-sabotage, right? It was that vulnerability that I realised who your friends were, and actually I realised I had more than I thought. And actually, it was some who I never even thought were my friends were the ones that came out the most for you. People at work were amazing. I mean, I was going to work every day. I was going into my office. I wasn't sleeping at all at night, bawling my eyes out for an hour in my office before school. Teachers would then come in, kids would then come in, and I'm on it. And then they'd leave the office, and then I'm at it again. For like weeks and weeks and weeks, it was just non-stop crying. Non-stop, but not just the tears. It was belly pain. It was like that gut-wrenching, and it was getting through that process, coming out the other side and realising, you know, that actually there are people, but you've got to be vulnerable. You've got to let them be able to help you. And that's when I look at... So
all the crying came out once you accepted your vulnerability?
No, the crying came out at the last trigger point, which was the last sabotaging of another relationship. And what was interesting was that my dad was 43 when he took his own life, and what was really interesting was that I was 42 coming on to 43, the same age. Jesus. And I got to the same place.
Jesus.
So I'd got to the same place, but actually I was the one option was never an option. It was never going to be an option to me. It was, I'm not going that way. I need to go the other way. And that's when the vulnerability come. Was actually, I don't want to go down that route. I'm going down the other route.
Did the therapist talk about you wanting to perhaps correct your father's mistake, or what you perceived to be a mistake? Like they wanted you to you wanted to correct that part of your family's narrative?
Right, it's the family narrative, isn't it? It's wrong in all of it's right in all of the wrongs of the passing on of behaviours, of the things that led him to do that.
Right.
They get passed on. It's passed on through generations. And I decided to actually put a halt to that and say, actually, no, this is now the direction of this family. Like in
your unconscious mind, you chose the age in which to do it.
Right, crazy, right? It's amazing how things, and what's really interesting.
Jesus Christ.
What's really interesting as well is like, so I'd been living in the family home, the home that my dad had took his own life. So I've been living in that house for 40 3 years. I then bought my own house. And what was really interesting was I went through this process. My mum was amazing. She went through the journey with me, 100%. She'd learned and changed with me. Our relationship has been it's incredible now. But what was really interesting, and when I bought this house, the process just went so seamlessly. It was my first house, and the contracts. So I officially became a homeowner, officially, on the day that my dad's anniversary. So it was like how the universe.
So none of this is
the universe.
you consciously choosing these things. It's somehow, I believe, like recently I'm reading a lot in the unconscious, about the unconscious and like how Jung interprets it and how powerful it is and how little people understand like how much of the stuff that you do is programmed from a program you can't see, you know, in your frontal consciousness.
You know what? I'm going to be controversial, and I'm going to. It's what your programs all can be about.
You heard?
I'm all about angels and guardian. I feel like I believe in afterlife now more than I ever have, and I believe that, you know, the gut instinct, the something telling you something wrong, or the something giving you a shake to say, we need to acknowledge what's happened here. So you either make your choice and you learn from it, or you make your choice and you live with it, right? Yeah. But it's that point, and they're telling you it's that point. And I really believe that they're your guardian angels. They're the people telling you, right, this is a lesson now. Stop, acknowledge this point, remember it, because this is a choice moment that you need to either go with or don't.
Yeah.
But learn from. And I believe that my dad was involved in helping me put all these. I just had that feeling, because not like even the therapist, that finding the therapist was really. I mean, I'm going to be brutally honest with you, right? When my breakdown started when I was here in Malta, and my mum didn't want me to go home, and my sister was trying to help me find a therapist. Couldn't find, because we were just coming out of COVID. Couldn't find a therapist for nothing. They were all took up. Couldn't find one. I got home. The one that me and my sister had found, we wanted to. I was like, couldn't. She was really rude in her response. She was like, I can't help you. Blah blah blah. Like I could have been suicidal, and that's how a therapist has dealt with someone. She could have at least gone, but I know someone who can, or like she didn't want to know. And I'll tell you, this is the truth. I remember I had a picture of my dad, and I had a statue of Our Lady that I won in Fatima. I won a statue of Our Lady at Fatima when I went to the shrine in Portugal.
How do you win?
Right, don't ask.
Like, you are one competitive motherfucker.
To win a statue of Our
Did
Lady.
you have like the best Our Father who art in heaven? Like, he can say it backwards. Okay, you win a statue.
Honestly, like it sounds so random, doesn't it? And I remember though, and I got back and I couldn't find a therapist, and I'd sent all of these therapists an email in the end to try and just get a response. And I literally I thought I hit rock bottom. I got back on the Thursday. Friday morning, I hit rock bottom. I was slumped on the floor. I had the statue of my dad the picture, and I had the statue in the other hand. I couldn't stop crying, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I was like, I can't do this. I was slumped on the floor. I was like, this is it. No, I just can't do it. Phone rings within 5 minutes of that happening. Hiya, it's David, the therapist here. I'm like, like, thank God. Like, he's called me. He's gone, just to let you know. He's like, he said, first thing he said, are you suicidal? I went, no. I said, I'd never do that. He said, next thing I want to know, he said, what happened to you as a child? He said, this is what you've written to me. He said, this is trauma. He said, I can help you. He said, but I can't help you for 3 weeks. He said, 3 weeks. I'm like, but at first I was like, okay, right, 3 weeks, right. Gets to a point where the Saturday, this is really rock bottom. And I'm like, I can't do this for another 3 weeks. I can't do this for another 3 weeks. I'm slumped on the floor, same picture, same thing. And I'm like in a worse state than I was the day before. I was like, guess what happened? Phone rings within 5 minutes. God's honest truth. 5 minutes. Hi, it's David here. I've had a cancellation.
Wow.
that was my saviour right there, right? And to me now, because of the coincidences, because of all of those things that have, in the universe that has happened since then, and the wrongs that have been put right, the success of the therapy, the relationship with my mum, all of these things, like, I feel like that there's more.
There's a metaphysical
there's
hand
more. There's
pulling
something.
the string.
There's something else going on. Like, that's how I feel. Only from my experience.
Yeah.
Yep. So we diverged from Last Man Standing there, didn't we?
Somewhat, yeah. But spectacularly well, seamless. And I wanted to also ask, before your dad decided to take his own life,
Yeah.
was that evident that he was going to do that?
No.
Il-ħobża tal-Malti, il-ħobża tal-Maltin, minant il-Maypole.
I don't think it's ever evident, is it? It's always a shock to people. That's the problem. Because if it's not a shock to people, normally you're able to help, right?
Right.
So, you know, it's one of those things I don't need to pick apart.
Okay.
What I need to do is change the future. Does that make sense?
Entirely, yeah.
Like, so it's me I need to change. It's my behaviours. It's my, like, it's me. Because that's the only way that future is going to change. There's no point in dwelling on all of that now. I've done my grieving. I've rectified myself. My relationships with families changed. I'm more successful. I'm more, when I say successful within myself. Like, my outlook and viewpoint. And yeah, I've called upon the experiences of Last Man Standing. I look back and pinch myself and I'm going, yeah, I can tell these amazing stories. But actually, I look mostly and go, well, you know what? I've done all of that. And look at where I was this time last year. I was that little child that needed help again. And I feel like that moment where I signed the contract for the house on that day was really the start of really the start of the rest of your life, isn't it? Yeah.
Of a new story for your whole family.
Yeah.
That's very deep.
It was deep. But it's...
So, but I'm also wondering, because it's at 26, no? You're in Nagaland.
Yep. So, yeah, I was 26 in Nagaland.
And there was the first time you realized that you got this
There was
realization.
something- there was
you did
something-
have an epiphanic
Yeah,
moment
yeah.
where you realized that
Yeah.
you needed to grieve, or you miss your dad, or like
Yeah.
there's a connection with your dad that you never examined.
At that point, yeah, at that point. And that's interesting because I look now at the two different connections. That was a start point which I never did anything about. That could have been the start point that actually should have happened. That could have been that point where...
That's what I'm wondering. Like,
was that the point? Did I not listen to it? Did I not... But I can't look at it like that now, and I just have to go, well, no, I've had it now. Now it's moved forward. It's interesting because those two connections are really interesting. That connection in Nagaland and the...
Why do you call them interesting?
Because I'm talking about them now and I'm actually connecting the two together, and it's not until you talk about everything that you start thinking about. So for me now, I'm saying it's interesting because now I'm thinking, actually, there's...
Just to let you know, from my perspective, I'm obviously hearing the story from the outside. For me, it was evidently like an echo. Like, you can tell that this is when this part of this chapter of the story, that's when it started. And I'm only wondering, like, why you didn't choose to, start with, were you in, like, once you became wise to the fact that there is a connection that you've left unexamined with your father, how long did it take you to shut off that thought and just get on with the race or the competition?
Pretty much immediately. Like, once I'd left Nagaland and went on to South Africa, I think was next, which was my winning one. I think then it was just like, when you've programmed yourself for so long, it's very difficult to unprogram yourself. The brain works it's very complicated, isn't it?
Yeah. To unlearn.
To unlearn, to change. So yeah, I literally then went straight into coping mode. Let's get on with it. Let's be successful. Let's drive on to the next. So that's like, I wasn't obviously then ready at the point to unlearn everything.
So you just dove back into the competition because that's what you knew?
Straight back into the competition because that's what I knew.
Oh.
Yep. Coping mechanism.
So now you're off to
South Africa.
South Africa for some Zulu stick fighting.
Right, this one was scary. So South Africa stick fighting. The tribes, although indigenous...
May I just ask you one last question about the previous chapter? Is that okay?
Yeah.
How did you learn that you were done grieving? How did you know that?
In South.
No. Once you after your therapy process.
Because I just know now. I just feel at peace. Like the therapy, the work, the hard work, things have changed already, right?
But was there a moment where was there like a single moment that you can point at where a weight was lifted off your shoulders?
You know what? I think there was actually. My mum, when she listens to this, she's probably not even going to. So there was a point where me and my mum had changed herself and had just had a reaction to something that is all I'd wanted, to move forwards. And at that point, that was the weight lifted off my shoulders.
Shit.
Without going in, it was just lifted. It was just like, you know what, changes have been made now. Now we're moving. It was amazing, and it was like I've told my mum that as well, like about that point. But I've never analysed it as the big turning point. But I look back now and go, when you ask me that question, I'll go, yeah, that's the turning point.
That's why I love this podcast, man, because like you start putting points together and a thread goes through like that.
Yeah, and it makes me see things differently as well.
Are you enjoying it?
Yeah.
I'll have a beer now. Yeah. That
was good beer.
That was
what is it?
Stretta beer, my man.
Yeah, it's really good.
If anyone has a bar and you want some premium quality shiznit, hit up Stretta beer or hit us up and we will put you in touch with Stretta beer. Either way, it works. So until my beer comes, we're off to South Africa.
Yep, we're in South Africa.
Mandela.
We are in South Africa. We're still going, right?
Yes, entirely.
South Africa was amazing. When we talk about indigenous, it wasn't as indigenous. It was more like it wasn't as remote as we were in Zululand. Not far from Rorke's Drift, where they filmed the film Zulu, and it was an incredible place. Like really enjoyed my time.
Had you watched that movie before?
No, I hadn't. You know, and it's funny because in Birmingham, there's
Michael Caine movie, right?
It is a Michael Caine. I think it is. Yeah,
I believe Michael Caine. We don't have a fact checker here, so we know nothing.
And what was brilliant about it was, like, you would wake up and you'd have zebras eating outside your door. You'd have baboons. You'd hear the baboons, like on your doorstep.
What are they like?
Well, I didn't meet them. You could hear them. I think, like, the zebras, like, I mean, fancy just going out of your hut and a zebra's eating, right?
Is
like,
zebra a big kind of equestrian animal, or?
No, it's big, yeah. It's a horse size.
It's horse size. Is it weird to see a horse with stripes?
It was weird to see a horse with stripes called a zebra outside my hut eating. That was it. It was just strange.
Like how does because obviously, like, we grew up in the West, man. You go out and you see, cars, maybe trains, and just regular. I mean, for us, it's regular.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you open a door and you're seeing a wild animal. Like, how does your brain configure that? Does your brain realize, like, tell you, dude, you're from the West, this doesn't match up. Something System error.
I'll tell you exactly what the brain said. The brain said, shit, there's a fucking zebra on my doorstep eating. That's exactly what my brain was like. Whoa, this is actually like fucking unbelievable, you know? And what was like, I'm going to be quite...
And you thought it was great.
Yeah, it was amazing. And what was like, I'll tell you one moment, and it's a shout, I've got it on my own diary. There was a moment and there was a storm.
Okay.
And a storm was coming over the plains where you have like the animals grazing and the mountains in the background, the hills. And this storm was epic. And there was a moment where me and all of the tribesmen was sat outside and they were doing, you know, their like tribal singing. And we were sat there and the storm, the lightning was going off and they were doing the tribal singing, no instruments, just pure tribal singing. And we were all sat there outside the hut. And it was just like, that was spiritual. Like that was just, at that moment, I felt like this is Africa. Like it was just, it was a breathtaking experience. Because you can have it all made up for you, but I was with the local people.
Right.
With the tribemen.
Yeah. And
they felt at this point, we're going to just sing a tribe song. And it just went on, and it was like, you know, like the Black Mambosa band that used to do you might not have had it here in Malta, but they released albums.
Black Mambosa?
Yeah.
No.
They released albums of tribal music, and it was exactly like that. They brought out albums and were selling albums worldwide, globally. And it was just like that. And with the lightning and it was like sublime. I can't explain that one. Like, it was so special. It was such a special moment. Actually quite moving.
Yeah.
Like,
sometimes things line up and it's just like a perfect...
it was a perfect storm. Like, literally a perfect storm.
Experience, yeah.
Like, it was just amazing. Felt so lucky. Like, that was one of the moments I just felt really, really lucky for the experience.
And was it like also a moment of communion with the rest of the group?
Yeah, 100%. You felt like, although we weren't accepted, you felt accepted. I think we were accepted once. So we would work with them on the fields. And South Africa is like, they're not used to seeing white men working with them in their fields. And they loved it. They were laughing at us, everything. But you know what? They would work with us, and it was like a real bonding with them, just to be working with them on the fields. They were like, what are you doing? And this is our job. It was really like, not right, you know, but actually...
Because they obviously were used to apartheid.
Yeah, exactly that.
So for them to be saying you labour away...
Yeah, and we were happy to do it, right? We were happy to do it. And that was a moment. Going to the toilet was incredible. Out there. I mean, we're going to get onto the stick fighting in a minute, which is the scariest. Like, but going to the toilet, there was no toilets, but you would be sitting there in the bush, looking over the plains with the sunset. It was the most amazing view, poo with a view. Like, it was just the moments, like them just random moments that you're never going to have here. Like, you're not going to have that moment ever in Malta. Well, you might do, but it's going to be rare, right? Just incredible. Yeah.
Jesus. So in the meantime, you also said they didn't like greet you very well, these people?
No, they greeted us with their stick fighting. And this was the thing. The moment we got into the tribe, they were stick fighting. And the guy had his head split right open.
Okay. That's the first thing that you saw when you got there.
First thing we saw when we got there. So obviously we're looking at each other going, fuck, like, excuse my language. Sorry, Mum. Like, this is, like, we're in trouble, like, here. You just seen him. You get the hit, because it was a proper solid hardwood stick.
Right.
About a foot, just more than a foot. What is that?
Well, I think they look more like 2 feet.
Yeah, it's about, a foot and a half maybe, but it's hardwood and there's a lip, they create them with a sharp lip. So if you get hit with them, I've still got one at home. I've still got my shield and my stick at home. You get it
Were,
with
were
them.
those given to you as prizes for winning?
No, that's
Or-
what we had to use to fight with.
Yes, I understand. But were you allowed to take it because
We were allowed to take everything we used back home
every time you
because it was made for us.
right? Okay, okay. So you get into this village.
Stick fighting's
stick
happening.
fighting. This guy's got his head.
Cut right, and I mean right open, like blood everywhere. You see that on the footage.
What's the medical situation there? Like if you get your head split open, what's happening?
Well, that's when I don't know. You're not close to. You know what they did? They got a piece of mud and they shoved it in the.
Exactly what I thought that answer was going to be.
That's what they actually did do.
That's mad.
That was the thing. They picked up the mud off the floor and he literally just went on his head, right in the gash.
And
where it's
I'm not
bleeding
laughing because they do that in Malta as well. I don't know if you know that. Like when they do like these builders, like sometimes you see them like they tear like their calf or something open, and they just take dust and it's just like
It's exactly like that.
pat it down and they go work for they're tough, man, fucking tough. And then obviously they go get it taken care of once the day is done. But
Yeah,
first they do
they've
the
got
day.
nowhere to get. They ain't got no way of getting to a hospital.
Also, he
have
never
they?
stitches it up.
No. No, they just
So
leave
he's
it.
left with like this massive gash for the rest of his life.
Yeah,
It's kind of deformed.
so our host, my trainer that I was living with, he had literally a hole in his head, like where he'd been hit previously. So the idea of the stick fighting there is done between rival tribes, and again, it's done at royal weddings. If there's a wedding, then the tribes will come together just to solve conflict through stick fighting rather than big wars. That's what they would do that.
Right.
And it was scary stuff because they were drunk. They were all out. That was the scary thing for us. Like it's all very well us going in. So we had an evacuation cars. We had 4 cars, each labelled. If it got out of hand and it just went into this mass, we would have to be evacuated to a specific car. The car would get us out. Like this one was.
Was this protocol for every place that you went?
No, for this one. For this one.
Because it was. What made this more dangerous?
Because
then?
they were drinking alcohol. There was
like real rivalries going on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, we're like white men taking part in Zulu stick fighting as well. You don't know how that's going to be received.
Right.
You don't know what they're going to do.
Presumably, like the BBC is checking before, no? Like if
Well, you'd
there's like a prevalent sense
Yeah.
of xenophobia, for example.
But if this one, but where alcohol's concerned, you don't know what's going to happen, do you?
Yeah.
Like there's an uncontrollable element to it,
Yeah.
which is why whenever you do a risk assessment, you assess the risk and you put things in place to minimise the risk. You don't always stop it, do you?
Yeah.
Like if we did that, we'd never do anything, would we?
So that was the one time that you needed a protocol.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get to the. So was there like a royal wedding, or was this only happening?
No, we were at a
because of-
royal wedding.
Okay.
We went to a royal wedding. It was crazy.
When you saw a royal wedding,
Well, like we're talking tribe royal.
right?
Like it's not like the Queen royal.
Okay.
Our Queen, for
So
example.
it's like a remnant of the colonial past.
Yeah,
It's more, more tribal, yeah.
Yeah.
So is it a case of like there is a royal family that kind of rules over
Their
a number
tribe,
of
yeah.
tribes?
Oh, good question. I don't know the answer to that. Possibly. Or maybe it was, I think if I'm going back, because it's a long time ago, I think there was the daughter of one marrying the son of the other. And
Yeah.
I think it was a coming together of
two tribes.
Two tribes, yeah.
And there was beef between the two tribes.
Well, there was beef between everyone. Like it was crazy. It was crazy. I'm not being. It was scary.
Okay, tell us more about
It
that.
was scary. Because they were all drinking, and I remember it vividly. So this was the fight or flight. Remember when we talked about me really learning what fight or flight was? And we were there, and we'd been doing this training, and they just didn't care. There was no fear with stick fighting. It was just like that was evident the moment we walked into the village, right? And we were there, and there was everybody crowded. There was all the different tribes, and it was just one big circle. And what one would do, one would go in and start banging his shield, and then someone would go in and then they'd start fighting. Well, of course, at some point, it was going to be one of our turn, like, and one of their guys went in and started banging his shield and was calling us out. And at that point, no one wanted to go in. Like, no one wanted to go in. Everybody was scared. Like, no one wanted to go in. And I don't know what, this was so out of character. Like, I thought was so out of character for me. I was the one that went, fuck it. Right, that was the exact thing. And I just went, fuck it. And I just went, I'm going in. And I just started banging my shield. And I just went right into this circle of mass, like, hysteria. And it's all, you see it although on the TV programme, I'm not the first one in. But I was the first one in the reality. And I was banging the shield. And my adrenaline, like, was nothing like, it was scary. Like, everyone was scared. Like, the boys, if any of them sat around here and told you they weren't scared, they'd be lying to your face. Like, it was. And I'm in there, and the adrenaline's took over. So now I'm.
Is it the crowd that's making it more scary?
No, it's the fact that you're gonna have your head smashed in
with the
sticks, isn't it?
And it's like everyone's getting their heads.
Not everyone. Like there was a lot of head splitting. Yeah, there was, but not everyone.
Okay.
Like, you would go in, and then if they'd seen that they had enough, one would back out, and then the referee. The makeshift referee would come in and send everyone away. That was what pretty much happened to mine. So my first fight, because I didn't just have one fight, my first fight, I went in and I was just like, because I was pretty decent at it anyway. I was quite lucky. I took to this one. And I was just literally whacking, defending. And I just kept going to a point where then he just stopped and then he just backed out of the ring. So I was able to win that one. And I got out of that without
anyone really getting hurt.
Without anyone getting hurt. So then what happened after that one then the others felt that they could then... So then it triggered everyone else to go in.
All the rest of the people from the show?
Yeah.
All
bar one.
Went in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I won that one. So I was quite proud of
So that was your
moment.
first one. What's the second one like?
The second one... I hit the stick out of his hand. So he was then, again, like, it was... And then I managed to hit the stick, and and once his stick went out of his hand, he's unarmed. So then...
Which requires for him to give up.
Yeah. Which the referee then comes in and, like... Yeah, so I won that one, and then got awarded the victory overall. I have them all.
From your team?
So it was from the referees of both tribes.
Right.
Decided then out of all of us.
Okay.
Because I won the most. Jason won the same amount as me, so they decided who was the bravest out of how the fights went, and they decided that I was, and then I won that episode. So that was like, after all of the other stuff, it was like really quite
thrilling.
It was a big come down after that. Like, it was the adrenaline. And then I was back at work the day after.
That's mad, bro.
I was back at work
like
the day
in your
after.
white shirt making photocopies or what?
I was a project manager. So I was in my white shirt looking at drawings and construction drawings, pretending I knew what I was doing. My head wasn't in it at all. I think they just humoured me, didn't they, at work? So it was crazy.
That must be, that's really weird. And you've probably seen Fight Club, right?
Yeah.
Like when he returns to work and everything just doesn't make sense anymore when you've seen that much violence.
Honestly, it was in fact so much so that I left my job as soon as so when I got back, I quit my job and I worked in a bit of TV. So I was a presenter for BBC, TV presenter for BBC for a little while.
What shows did you do?
I was BBC Inside Out, it was called. So it's like current affairs. I was their on location presenter. I trained to be a bodyguard in that time, close protection bodyguard. And then I was going around schools, colleges, universities, doing motivational talks about the experience, about management of pressure.
That's as part of what, some sort of like non-governmental organization?
No, that was just me being asked to go in. And then I jumped on the opportunity and I was getting paid to go into schools, colleges and universities.
But was that the state requesting that you go,
No.
or it's just like different schools independently giving you?
I was asked to go.
calls?
I was asked to go in.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So then I would do that, and then and then I was getting emails and messages, and then I just thought, you know what, I need to go into teaching, and that was when I decided to go into teaching.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So
It was like a calling. Yeah.
so that's how it happened, because you went into these schools
Yeah.
to give these talks and
Yeah.
realized, fuck, I'm actually really good at this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you connected with the kids.
Kids, and they just really appreciated it. So then I decided to go into teaching.
And what did you start teaching?
Well, it wasn't an easy journey. I started from the bottom. So I left my job, really good job, and then I volunteered at school, and they were giving me 50 quid a week. And I was volunteering just to be like a behaviour manager.
Okay.
And then I worked my way into teaching through that. So I literally was cleaning toilets for the living, and then worked my way through, and now I'm assistant principal of the same school.
Oh wow. And but were you teaching subjects like how old
Yeah,
are
I
these
was
kids?
PE. I was PE. I taught PE.
And these kids are how old?
11 to 18.
Okay, so it's secondary school.
Yeah, secondary school.
It's secondary school till 18. Is that compulsory till 18? No.
It's compulsory to 18, yeah.
Till 18?
Yeah, so you have the option to either stay on into a sixth form or you go to a college. But you have to stay in education until you're 18.
Okay, with us it's 16. It's very different.
Well, I think it's our government fudging unemployment figures, isn't it?
Oh, don't start me on fudging figures, my friend. But in Malta at 16, there was this discussion that perhaps you should start going, taking our kids to school till they're 18. But the way right now things are in education, I don't think it would really help anyone. Like there's some fundamental things we need to change.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you don't want to, I'm pretty sure they have to stay till they're 18. I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah, because...
but if they don't, I don't think they're going to go to prison or anything. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, how much of it is compulsory, how much of it isn't?
Right. No. Malta, I don't know. I don't know many people that... I don't know people that left school early, like 13. But I don't know what the legal...
Oh, you definitely can't do that. You
ramifications-
definitely can't do that. No, you wouldn't be able to not be in school at 13.
At 13, probably 16 are a bit strict, and
Yeah.
then 18 you find your own
Yeah.
way. So, anyway, so you have this incredible high.
Yep.
You,
I'm trying to think where the next one was.
and this is like how many months? We said 13 months of this.
13 months, yeah. So it was 12. What was interesting was we filmed 8 for the British season, for the series, and the extra 4 was for the American series. So actually in England, they only got to see 8.
Right.
Whereas the Discovery Channel Americas, which is USA, Central America, South America, they got to see the extra 4.
And was it a case of like the story continues past the 8?
Yeah, exactly that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The story continues. But they were 4 really good ones as well. So it was what was it? It was Peru in the mountains, 5,400 meters. We had to race with a block of ice from the glaciers a mile down the mountain. That was a crazy experience. We went back to Brazil, back to the Amazon to do log running. We went to Indonesia to do the ancient martial art of pencak-silat. So it was
Not
like
familiar.
so pencak-silat, pencak, so it's P-E-N-C-A-K, silat, S-I-L-H-A-T. That's their ancient martial art, and it's like that was crazy. That was another one for me. That was like I was in my element there. So it was like a Shaolin training camp,
Right.
For pencak-silat in the mountains of Indonesia on Java. Oh, it was crazy.
And
It was
what are
like a
the- what-
scene out of Karate Kid. The end was, it was unbelievable. Yeah, it was unbelievable.
And
That
what's the
was
challenge? The challenge is another
martial
fight?
arts. Yeah, fighting again. Yeah, pencak-silat. Yeah, and then the
Which out of these fighting styles that you tried do you feel are the most like useful?
pencak-silat, I think, was the most useful. Any wrestling's good as well, though. But I think pencak-silat was the most useful.
Did you pursue any of these martial arts that you
No.
experienced?
But for me, my martial arts days, once I'd finished this, I'd relaxed a little bit after that. I thought I've done enough competition now. And then the very last episode was in Vanuatu, where that one was, my life went before my eyes in Vanuatu.
Tell us all about Vanuatu.
you want me to tell you about Vanuatu? So we were there. It's a desert island, Vanuatu, South Pacific, in between Australia and Fiji. Group of islands, proper desert islands as well. Like literally a round circle of sand, like really like proper.
Bare.
Oh, it was amazing, right? It was proper out there. And the race was, we had to...
Was it like really hot though?
Yeah. I mean, it's South Pacific, isn't it? Like
so like
30 degrees,
Yeah, there's like no trees around.
32 degrees. No, it's desert island. You've got your
There
palm
was
trees
some
and
palm
stuff.
trees,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. In fact, I want to come. Can I come back to that one? Can I come back to this one?
Sure.
Because I want to talk about Papua New Guinea.
Right, yes, that was at the beginning.
Right.
We said
So
we'd get
this
back
is
to
the
that.
last. So Papua New Guinea was number 8 of the British series.
Okay.
Right. This was crazy as well, like crazy. So we're in the jungle again. We're with a proper tribe in the jungle, an indigenous tribe. I've got some amazing photos from this place. Like it is proper tribal. And the sport was we had to, in a stand-up canoe, dug out tiny canoe, we had to race upstream that you couldn't even balance. I mean, forget a paddleboard, stand-up paddleboard. You're talking something like a quarter of the width of that. And it's a wooden, like, hollow of a tree. And we had to stand up paddle upstream.
Is that one person per boat?
Yeah, per boat.
Okay.
We had to uphill paddle 5 kilometres upstream, which felt like 20 kilometres because you were against the current. Balance your canoe. We then had to stay over in the jungle in our own little jungle hut that we make, right? Show that we were men. And I've got a brilliant story of this one. Show that we were men and then paddle back. Alligator infested waters, right? The rivers are alligator infested. Like everything could kill you in this, right? And I remember, so we had one of our challenges was to stay the night on our own, away from everyone else in the jungle. We had to build our own hut. We had to like literally make our own things and stay there on our own. We got our little jungle, how to use your thing, what to do to make a hut, this, that, and the other. But what you need to watch out for in terms of snakes, alligators, insects, this, that, and the other. So, of course, we get shown this picture of a snake called a death adder. All right, I don't know whether you've heard of it.
Yeah, I have.
Now, a death adder will sit in a coil and not move. Most snakes will run away from you. This snake just coils until you step on it. The moment you step on it, it's got you. So we get taught what to do, like, and we get tucked in the jungle, taken into the jungle. We can't see each other, we can't hear each other, we're nowhere near each other. I've started making my jungle hut on my own. I'm there, I'm cleaning the floor because that's where I'm going to sleep. All right, so I'm clearing it at arm's length, doing what I'm told to do, you know, just in case. I get to my legs and I clear all the bushes from in between my legs. This is all on camera because when they come, they see where it is. There's a death adder curled up right between my legs. Now they told us if we get into any trouble, they said blow your whistle. I'm looking at this snake between my legs and I'm like, fuck, what am I going to do here? Like, I'm scared to move because if I disrupt it in any way, it's like genuinely right between my legs. So I'm getting my whistle. Shh, shh, I'm blowing this whistle. I'm thinking, I can't stay here for long.
Weren't you concerned that the whistle was going to trigger?
Well, I don't know. I'm blowing my whistle. I'm not thinking at the time. I just don't want this snake between my legs, like literally.
Because that's what they told you to do anyway.
Yeah, that's what they told us to do. So I'm in my head now. I'm going, right, what am I going to do here? Do I jump? Do I just jump and pray that I don't disturb it? Or do I just sit here and wait? And I just went, you know what? I'm just going to fucking jump. So I've literally got myself together and I'm like, here we go. And you know when you're going 1, 2 and you go, oh no, I'm gone. It was as if I was on the top of the cliff at Delamara, right? And I'm waiting to jump in. And I'm going 1, 2, no, I'm not ready for that yet. And I was doing that. And then in the end, I just went 1, 2. And I just sprung just literally launched myself. I didn't even know what I was launching myself into. I could have launched myself into
another 10.
another 10 of them. Yes, my brain wasn't thinking. It was just like, I don't want this snake between my legs. So I've done this jump out of nowhere. The military man that was with us, like, well, I mean, he was good. Like, he looks at, so he's obviously an expert in jungles and things like that, comes from nowhere, starts chopping this snake up. So, like, what was great was that, you know, when a fisherman goes out to fish, and especially in Malta, like, they'll always go out of maz-Zulus or maz-Schlock and come back and go, there was this big fish, this shark, and this, that, and the other. And they've never seen anything, really, or they've had a bit of a splash and they've got spooked in the dawn, you know. That's typical Malta story, isn't it? I've grew up with that all my life. And what was great about this was that when he arrived, there was actually a snake there.
For the demonstration.
Yeah, just to make it look, no, there was an actual snake here, and it was a death adder, and it was in between my legs. And it was like unbelievable, that was. And then I still had to stay there. So then I still had to, like, clean up my area. And that was a really, like, we had to make our own fire, and we had to stay there the night, and that was crazy. Like, it was just, you're lying there, and one of the contestants, Jason, genuinely woke up with a tarantula on his face. Like, literally woke up with it on his face. I was like, thank God that wasn't, I mean, I'm all right with stuff like that, but thank God that wasn't me. We were all like, thank God that was you.
Why is that?
Because Jason don't care, like, I mean, obviously, like, and also...
He's the crazy BMX
The crazy
guy.
BMX one, yeah, loved him.
But how do you go asleep again? How do you fall asleep again
You
after
know
that?
what? Again, it was like, you could hear rustling. I've lit my fire, like... And you're lying there and you're hearing, your senses just come alive, and you're listening to everything that's going on, the noises. Like, and there are alligators there, like, there are those things around. And I don't know what, I slept, like, I genuinely slept. I don't remember falling asleep, but it's just that moment of, I'm like literally just covered with a sheet of bushes on my head, with the sticks. I've got a good picture of my actual little den that I made.
Before you did all this, had I told you that you were going to experience all of what you're telling me, would you have thought that in this context you would have just simply fallen asleep?
Nah, I thought I wasn't going to get I didn't think I'd sleep at all.
I can't imagine what that's like, you know, you find a death adder where you're meant to be, like, at your most vulnerable. When you're asleep, you have no idea what's going on.
I think that's probably the good bit about, like, that
you
is
have
that
no
you
idea.
have no idea of what's going on. Like, an alligator could pass straight past me. Like, I'm fast asleep.
No, the
I'm not
problem
causing
is
him
it-
a problem.
Yeah, problem is if he just thinks, fuck it, I'm hungry, you know.
Yeah, I'm asleep.
Never crossed your mind, fuck it.
I've been wake up being dragged into a bush when I was...
So you're part Maltese,
Yes. Yep, I'm half Maltese passport.
from your mom's side.
Yeah.
What's the surname?
Ghalluna.
Shiklona, like the Archbishop is Shiklona. Yes.
I think half of Malta is Ghalluna, isn't
No,
it?
mostly we're Borch. But we don't have. Do we have any Borch here? No, not really. Borch, Atsopardi are the most prevalent, but Shiklona is it's many people are.
There's lots of
Shiklona.
Ghalluna woodworks out there, isn't there?
Indeed, yeah. And we had a Minister of Finance who was Shiklona, and the Archbishop is.
That's a lot of Ghallunas then, isn't it? Yeah.
There is. You're quite numerous. Yeah, and but I see you post on Instagram. You have an aunt that's here that you go and visit.
Yeah, I've got lots of aunts, lots of all my family are here. Like, all of them. My sister lives here. My cousins, like I said, the one's on licorice at the moment. Vote for Victor. I have to. He told me I had to put that in there. Like,
That's perfectly permissible.
That's okay.
You've more than entertained us. I think you've earned the right to a little plug. We can give him the plug. Good luck.
Yep. So yeah, Maltese. I'll get here any time I can now with the holidays, the school holidays. Yeah. So I love it here. I do love it here. I feel like I get the best of both.
So how often are you here? Like, you're here
Every school holiday. So it's like every 6 to 7 weeks.
Okay. So every 6 to 7 weeks, this is your go-to place.
Yeah.
And how long you know Mark?
Not long, you know. When did I meet him for the first time? It wasn't long ago. We went climbing together. Last time I was here, funny enough. It was only 12 weeks ago. So yeah.
Okay.
But we just hit it off straight away.
Yeah, man, Mark is so easy to talk to and so easy
Well,
to
we got
hang
the same
out with.
interests as well, though. That's why.
Yeah, but he's just such a personable human
Yeah,
being.
he's lovely, lovely man.
Yeah.
Where's he gone? Has he disappeared somewhere? Hasn't
I don't know, maybe preparing the fire on the roof. Maybe it's hard to tell with Mark. He's always keeping himself busy. Like when we started, the studio was nothing like this. But then like every week, Mark would think of an upgrade that would make it better. Latest thing he got was like these, he has one small box room behind that wall. And he figured out that if he gets infrared bulbs, he can turn that box room into a temporary sauna.
Oh, nice.
So now we're going to have a
Nice.
infrared sauna. That's Mark.
Perfect.
And you guys went out, no? This morning?
Yeah, we went on the paddle boards, kayaks.
Did
This
you
morning.
get to do that 100-meter cave?
No, the swell was too much. But I did get burnt. Like, you don't even want to see my arms. Like, I've got, like, very good T-shirt lines. That's why I've had to cover myself. Look how bright red.
Very British.
Very British.
Very British. But to be fair, Mark was also very
Yeah,
good.
no, we got burnt.
Yeah,
We got burnt.
must have been a ferocious sun because Mark is pretty dark. His skin looks like it. You're pretty dark as well. You look.
Yeah,
fairly-
no. This is my first exposure to sun in how long? I live in England, right? It's been horrible winter.
Yeah, you have like Maltese complexion.
Yeah.
Without the fucked up Maltese nose,
No, but I have got the
You
Birmingham accent.
which is
Although it's very
plus.
Peaky Blinders now, isn't it? It's
Yeah, you guys are in
It's become
now.
fashionable now with
You guys
Peaky
are in.
Blinders.
Yeah, it's very big here. I watched the first 2 seasons. I don't know why I never continued. I never continued the third. Very good. You guys like it?
I've only started watching the first one.
Is
the
it like
last
a
few
big
weeks.
thing? Is like everybody
Obsessed
obsessed in Birmingham?
Nah, not really. I mean, it's just, I think everybody just likes it anyway. It's just a good...
But it's not like a case of
Nah.
they're flying the Birmingham flag.
They are flying the Birmingham flag. Yeah,
But there isn't like a lot of not national, like local pride attached to the Peaky Blinders.
well, they were gangsters killing everyone, weren't they?
I don't know. I see a lot of people walking around like with berets on.
Yeah, no.
And-
They wore them hats anyway. Like, they were popular hats anyway.
Yeah. No, but I see a lot of, all I'm saying is that I see a lot of people idolize, what's the name of the main guy?
Tommy, is it Tommy?
Shelby.
Tom Shelby.
Yeah,
innit?
yeah. And my dad strangely has a haircut like the brother. They keep posting photos of my dad on this. There's this Facebook group called Malta Partecipi Posting, which is basically a shit posting group. And I saw a few photos of like side by sides between my dad and Shelby's nutcase brother. My dad's not a nutcase, but he does have a crazy undercut for a 70-year-old. Yeah. All right, bro. So, anything else that you think we should be exploring?
No, there was only the one last story
Which
of
one?
the one in Vanuatu of my life passing before my eyes.
Let's end on the high note of coming one-to-one with your mortality.
Yeah, that was definitely, this one definitely did. This one out of all of them. I know I talked about the scenario of the Zulu stick fighting, but this one, so we were on the desert island and the races, we have to learn how to ride their outboard homemade canoe. And it has an outboard rig on the side and you're on your own and you're racing to the next island, around the island and back.
Okay.
Best way I can describe the distance is probably from, so an island the size of Camino, but where Gozo is.
Okay.
The race was to go to Gozo, around Camino.
From, let's say, Chirkawa.
Yeah.
Okay.
So imagine Camino's where Chikawa is.
Okay.
You go from Malta up to there, round and back. That's your race.
Right. On this little shitty stand
Yeah, on this, no, it's not
So-
stand up. No, this is a sit down canoe. So we're in Vanuatu now. So this is a sit down canoe with an outreach.
These are the narrow.
They're very narrow.
Yeah.
Very narrow. And you just sit on top of a piece of wood that sits on top. So you're not even in it. You're sitting on top of a piece of wood with just one paddle and you're going from either side like that. What had happened the day before the race was that there was a big storm, an almighty storm. So the swells that you can't see from where we were starting the race was happening out. So it's full South Pacific swell. So we went out and we were racing and got around the island and we were doing really well. Paddled about 4 hours into the race, gets round 4 or 5 hours, gets round the island, and we're all met with the most horrific 19, 20-foot swell waves.
Oh, shit.
And you're looking at these, and like some locals didn't even enter the race because of the storm and the swells that were out there. We all got separated. All of us got separated. I was literally looking. I was paddling for dear life. The boats didn't know where, the boats had gone because the waves were too big for those boats.
When you say the boats, they're the
camera
ones,
boats.
The ones that are meant to be, okay.
The camera boats. So I'm paddling, and I'm looking at these swells, they're going up, and I'm just trying to keep my canoe there. So I'm 4 hours into the race. I don't move for 2 hours. I'm paddling for 2 hours for dear life. And I'm not moving anywhere. And I'm crying because you're exhausted. And you know that if I go in, because the water's a shark infested. In fact, when we were training, there was a guy with a shotgun on shark watch whenever we were doing the water training bit, where we were having to bring the boats back over. And these swells, the waves were that big. And the reefs, they were smashing on the reefs. And I didn't know where anyone else was. I couldn't see anyone else. There was no boats. And I remember I'm crying and I'm just trying to paddle just to keep this thing straight so that it doesn't knock me over. Because if I'm going in, I'm not coming back out. Genuinely, I weren't coming back out. And like I said, I was beaten. And I'm just trying to keep this canoe going. And I'm still crying. And I'm crying and I'm crying and of course I'm dehydrated and I could, when you feel the froth, and I'm just and I'm saying I'm not even joking, I'm saying my prayers while I'm paddling, and I'm seeing things flash before me, and then it was about 6 hours in. By the time it was about 5 or 6 hours in, and this big fishing vessel just turns up and just pulls me out. And even at that point, this is the truth, even at that point I'm saying, no, leave me, I'm finishing this race. And I'm telling them, I'm finishing this race, I'm finishing the race.
And you haven't moved an inch.
I hadn't moved an inch.
Mawra sal-ħadnu ta' Derek mhux tranzazzjoni kif ġipu laħaq, fejn apparti tinqeda b'lifjen kwalità se tiġi mejjun sabiex issawwar l-għarfien tiegħek dwar dak li qed tiekol u titma' lil familtek. Biss jekk m'għandekx il-ħin tad-disa fejnhom il-belt, ibad WhatsApp lil Derek fuq 9986-6425 biex waslulek ix-xirja fuq l-adba.
I was just fighting this pummeling of wave after wave of just trying to keep this little rig, and you're sitting on top of the rig, not in it. And so you've got and the boat, they pulled me out. They wouldn't let me.
Did you ever discuss this moment with your therapist?
Nah.
No?
Nah, this wasn't a therapist moment.
Because it's just, I think it's worth examining the fact that you're literally standing on the brink of your mortality, and what you're telling the people that came to save you is that, I will die on this fucking hill.
No, I wasn't. I wanted to finish the race.
Yes,
I was
but
telling
them
them I wanted to finish the race.
But weren't you you were also seeing your life flash?
Yeah,
before
if
you.
I went in,
so you're this was a life or death situation.
But my competitor, maybe my head was making it more than what it was. Maybe it wasn't a life or death situation. Maybe I would have been all right at the time. Did the boat insist, the people on the boat? Yeah, they took me out.
Insistent, there's no way you're finishing.
No, they took me out.
Did anyone finish this race?
Two of them actually finished, yeah.
Okay. Two of the contestants?
Two of the contestants finished. And a lot of the locals. The locals.
So what had happened to you? How come you got into so much trouble?
So what it had come down to was my boat was actually a really heavy... the makeup of the boat was actually a lot more difficult and slower to push through, from what I understand, because it was the boat I was training in,
Right.
and it was just
Not ideal for this.
well, it was just slow. It was just harder to push. But the lads got through it. Fair play to them. They did well. They did well to finish it. Like, I mean, respect to them. And it was funny because the one that finished it was the one that won the whole thing anyway, the whole episode. And I think that was probably why, like, I can't not finish something. Do you know what I mean? So for me, like, not finishing something is unfinished
It's
business.
insufferable.
Yeah. It still beats me up now, that one does. Yeah, it does. It still beats me up that I got pulled out of that race. I wanted to finish that race.
So where are you now with your life, man? Like, I know you're vice principal.
Assistant principal.
Assistant
Yeah.
principal.
Assistant principal now. Looking for a wife. No.
Are you in a relationship?
No. God, I'd be stupid to have. I mean, even probably now, I probably need maybe more time but I'm in a really good place now. I'm still training twice a day, still doing everything that I normally do. I'm
Do you
just getting a
manage-
little bit older.
Do you manage that regime even back home?
Yeah.
when you're working full-time?
So I'm very, very
Regimented.
regimented like that. I'd start training at 5:30. I'm in work by 7, and then I finish work at about 5, and then train again at 6. I then go home
And what's the training?
and weight training in the morning, and then high intensity interval training after school.
Is that 7 days?
6
days?
Because on the weekends I'll still weight train, but my hobby is cycling, so
Okay.
I'll go out on the mountain bike or the road bike
But it's still
twice a day.
there's still a lot of exercise. And then Sunday beer?
I'll have a beer, like. Yeah, I'll have a beer. I mean, how many have I had today?
A few, and yet
And they're very good, actually.
more
These
joys
stretches.
in a bottle to come, my friend. My man, that was a crazy peering into a really fascinating, exciting life.
I've enjoyed it. You know, let me tell you something, John. Like, even having talked through some things, like it was interesting to connect things and actually just to relive Last Man Standing was special, because I don't give myself enough credit sometimes. And actually reliving the moment, it's actually especially in the mindset that I'm in now, after all of the self work that I've put in, I look back and go, actually, you know, that was actually a damn good experience.
So, man, thank you so much for being around and for sharing all of that. Some of it was also very personal and intimate, like when we got into your years of, nursing your trauma. It was very kind of you to share. I appreciate that a lot.
I think it's important people hear it.
Indeed.
So
Indeed. And to hear someone as non-risk averse, I think, how do you say crazy motherfucker in polite? In Cambridge English. Yeah, man, just fantastic stories, fantastic adventures, and we love it when people come to the podcast after having done so much and then sharing it with us.
thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed
Mr.
it.
Hoban, it's been great, man. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
John.
Voilà. Before we close up, Adele, pull up les sponsors. First of all, issa ħanaqleb bil-Malti. No, actually, let's do it in English because I'm sure there's a bunch of people right now that would normally not watch the podcast because it's in Maltese. So I'd like to thank my beautiful, wonderful sponsors that make this program, that make this whole project viable. And those are Maypole, as well as Derek Meats Straight Up Beer, which we had plenty of. 3 Hour Kutriko. Thank you to Garmin for my watch. Thank you to ECAB, State of CBD, Shoulder Compliance. Thank you to Agenda. I'd also like to thank our amazing Patreon community that supports us in myriad ways. In fact, tonight there's a couple of Patreons running about out there We'll go have a couple of drinks with them as well now. So if you want to join that family, that community, patreon.com/Jon Mallia. It's actually the biggest, most followed Patreon in the country. Like, I know it's like 1,500 in the world or something like that, which is crazy because it's just like a fucking small local podcast from Malta. Also, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Where can they follow you?
Only my Instagram, @adventure_and_fitness.
@adventure_and_fitness. Okay, editor, if you're watching this,
It's without a D.
just write it down there.
Adventure and Fitness.
And yeah, I mean, we'll make sure we have it correctly, and we'll sound linked up. May I remind you, this podcast was also broadcast on Love in Malta. Once again, Mr. Hoban, thank you so much. Guys, thank you for following. Thank you for supporting. Let's go meet the Patreons, bro. Good night.